Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews podcast number 7. I'm Gary.
I'm Iain.
I'm Geoff.
And today, of course, we're going to talk about films, video game news, talking a little bit about E3. And today, our main topic, we're going to be talking about James Bond.
007.
And in the final section of the podcast, we're going to be answering your questions. But first off, I'd just like to start off by saying, I saw Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And, you know, and critically, it was quite well praised and it topped the box office.
It's done very well for itself.
It's done very well for itself, and it was actually good. You know, when I first heard Wonder Woman was cast, I was like, I didn't think that she was cut out for the part.
Yeah, you didn't like Gal Gadot.
I didn't think Gal Gadot was cut out for it, but she proved me wrong in Batman vs Superman. She was, for me, the standout character. I was like, I'm kind of interested. And now Wonder Woman's come out, and I kind of saw it in cinema, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing all those Amazonians.
Yeah. Her auntie was played by the same woman who did Princess Buttercup.
Yes.
In Princess Bride. And when I saw her in the Amazonian armour, I was like, oh, done.
And of course, I also love World War films as well. And some of it was a bit over the top, but, you know, the trench sequence, really liked it. And I also say Chris Pine was a pretty good sort of supporting male actor as well.
Well, Chris Pine proved himself as Kirk.
Yeah, I actually like him as Kirk.
Character, you know, even though he's in the background, he's still pretty good on screen.
Yeah, so it's like the best thing I've seen in cinema recently.
Where do you rate it in the scale of DC's?
Oh, it's definitely the best one DC have produced live action, without a doubt.
What? Of any DC films?
Well, not out of any.
Not out of any. For me, my favourite superhero movie is probably the original Superman.
Right.
You know, so Christopher Reeve is my Superman.
As an origin story, it definitely stands out.
Yeah.
It definitely stands out and says, look, here's Wonder Woman, and she's not ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah. They pulled it off, and so I'm kind of like a little bit more relaxed now going into Justice League. So, but it yet remains to be seen.
Together.
I also want to talk about Better Call Saul. I've been talking about it in almost every podcast. But
Better Call Saul. Okay.
But the season just finished. It's the prequel show to Breaking Bad, and I just want to say Better Call Saul.
Saul.
Okay, as in Saul Goodman.
Yeah, okay.
The lawyer,
And so I just want to say that was fantastic. I also mentioned American Gods in the last podcast. I've also finished it. I think it was 8-episode season.
Yeah.
Left, of course, massively open for seasons 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
I just want to say it was brilliantly acted, and the special effects in it were great. It was a little bit, it kind of lost me a little bit and then pulled me right back in again and just left me wanting more. I was like, this felt like a half a season.
Did you feel like you burnt out too much rushing into it? That's why you lost it a little bit? But like you said, it dragged you back in?
It was just... The episode sort of time jumped and sort of introduced characters, and there is so much mythology in this world.
A lot of information in one season.
And so much, exactly. I mean, the main character at the end of the season is still going, what the fuck is going on? And so the audience, you're still figuring out what's going on, who these gods are. And the unraveling of who's fighting who. But again, it's brilliantly acted. Love this world and can't wait for more of it. Iain, what have you been watching lately?
Well, I mean, I've been keeping up with my Hawaii Five-0. Obviously, it's been getting real tense towards the end of the season.
Sorry, Geoff, this is the part where we get to go to sleep for 5 minutes.
McGarrett may have radiation poison.
Hawaii
No. This is the new. This is the new nowadays present day Hawaii Five-0.
2017 Hawaii
It's season 7. We're on season 7 now, and it's all building up to the end of the season where, like I said, McGarrett's got radiation poisoning from when he had to deactivate a dirty bomb in Hawaii. Dano is planning on retiring and getting out of being a policeman because he just wants to settle down now.
Right.
Kono, she's gone a bit off the deep end because they investigated a couple of young girl kidnapping cases.
Yeah.
And she's just like gone on the rails now to hunt down these guys and beat the crap out of them.
I don't know who any of these
I know
people
you
are.
don't know any of these characters, but the thing
tell me
is,
what it is. Is it like
it's
how
the
many episodes in a season?
Force.
Like 700?
23?
Is it basically a Hawaiian soap opera game?
It is.
Yeah,
it is at this point.
It's a cop drama. It's a buddy cop drama
Is it?
between
Is
Magara and Dano.
Is it a cop soap drama?
It's what I call trash TV, if I'm honest.
It's the switch. Yeah, it's the switch your brain off kind of TV that you can just sit down on a Sunday night.
There's always a
and
place
just,
for it.
Just,
It's
just
just
watch it.
but
It's brilliant. I mean, you know, Magara had to carry a car battery. He had to carry a car battery to defuse the nuclear bomb. But anyway, I've been watching Hawaii Five-0. I recently completed Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo.
Is that like the original
Super Mario Brothers?
Wow, how do you feel?
I felt such
How many
acceleration.
years has it taken for you to do it?
Years,
Yeah.
a milestone. I was sat there, and I was halfway through Super Mario World.
Have you always wanted to do that?
Yes, always. I mean, one of the first games I ever majorly played when I had my own home console was Super Mario Brothers.
And you couldn't complete it back then?
Could not complete it. I could barely complete it this time around. It took me 2 days. I got all the way to World 8 towards the end, and then when you go onto the boss level, it becomes a maze. Right? So you have to look up online where the tunnels are so that you can get through them and fight the boss.
Right.
Imagine trying to do that when you're like 10.
Unless you haven't got Nintendo Power or...
Yeah, unless you haven't got the magazines or anything. You just sat there on a Saturday just like, I'm going to play Super Mario Bros. Shit, what the hell do I do?
Unless you're autistic.
Yo, it was like I said, it was a milestone. I got to the end of it and I was just like, you know what? Just complete Super Mario Bros. I can do any game.
Yeah.
I can do any game. If somebody said, play this game, a couple of hours, you get into it. You learn the controls. You get past it. Yeah. Unless it's severely bugged, then you can pretty much complete any game. Dark Souls, I've done Super Mario Brothers.
The original.
I've done the original.
Jeff, you been watching anything interesting? Played anything interesting lately?
I have not been watching an awful lot. I've been playing Vermintide. I've been playing Shadow Warrior 2.
Nice.
Wow,
nice.
Nice.
Shadow Warrior 2 would be right up your street. Ian.
Man, I love my action-oriented games, and Shadow Warrior is like right up there.
It's almost like Duke Nukem.
We need to do a gaming Friday of Shadow Warrior, I think.
Cheesy, overtly racist.
Yeah. You want some wang?
Very ironic and tongue-in-cheek. Yeah, filthy. Yeah, it's funny. And co-op as well, so that's a
even
good
better.
laugh. Yeah, and Vermintide, it's really good.
Vermintide's the Left 4 Dead Warhammer old
Skaven.
Skaven,
that's the one. Yeah,
I saw you playing that, and it was just over the top Skaven running at me. And you're just like, die! Trying to get to the next.
It is a game that I'm still considering picking up in the future.
If you're a fan of Left 4 Dead, you should definitely play
considering
it.
Left 4 Dead 3 has not been announced yet, and I was kind of hoping for a surprise announcement at E3, but of course, it did not come. Just like anything you really wanted. Well, speaking of E3, I just want to mention that there was a particular game at E3 that it came with no fanfare to begin with. It just opened up as a trailer, as an advert, and within 5 seconds I called it. I was like, oh my god, this is Metro. I can just tell. I just know it's Metro.
I thought you were going to say the other game, actually.
No, and then as the advert was going on, I was like, there's the gas mask, there's the valve, and then he made his way to the surface, and I was like, holy shit, that's like the most colourful this game's ever been.
It looked absolutely stunning.
Absolutely stunning. I was super excited, and everything else that came at E3 afterwards just kind of paled in comparison to that. And that also comes at the fact that I highly regard the other two Metro games. I thought when Metro first launched, it was ugly, and I couldn't recommend it on its visuals, but I played it, persevered at it, and I played it until I got all the different endings, and I was like, this is so well built. Characters, story, environment, atmosphere, the sense of dread, and the old school hard mechanics of looking after your air filter as well as repairing the actual visor of the gas mask, and bullets as currency and everything else was very, very good. And of course you got to praise the source material that it came from as well. And so I was super stoked to see that it was getting a third game. I didn't actually think it would come. And so I was very surprised about that.
I thought you were going to bring up Beyond Good and Evil 2.
No, I've not even listed it because again, it's only because I love the first game, you know. I loved it, and then when they made it backwards compatible, I got it, and I was like, wow, I get to play it again. And the fucker kept crashing on me. It crashed on me so many times that I just uninstalled it, and then denied it for a Gaming Friday episode. I was like, no, fuck you, Beyond Good and Evil. You're a rotten piece of crashing shit.
Oh,
and it soured me so much that when the Beyond Good and Evil 2 trailer came, I was like, oh, fuck off.
The funny thing is, anyway.
I don't know who these characters are. It's a prequel, and we're going to get into prequels later on in the podcast, but it was a prequel, and it was just a CGI animation advert.
Yeah.
And I've been suckered with those before in video games, and so as nice as it was, all that really told me was that this was going to be an R-rated game.
See,
with lots of sexual innuendo and vulgar language from animals. And I'm like, well, I don't know.
I've got to admit,
it's not Beyond Good and Evil, is it?
I don't understand what the big deal was for the original.
What, to do what?
From Beyond Good and Evil 1.
Did you play it? Did you?
No, I never played it. I saw you play it.
It was great
once,
that you got your own vehicle. It was kind of, there was like, you kind of got, you got to drive around, upgrade it. You had a camera. I was a photographer as well, and so playing a character that was a photographer.
Yeah, that's it.
The pictures you took appeared in the game, and you had to convince everyone that the corporation that was controlling everyone was corrupt and horrible and nasty, and
so not a first-person action shooter, though.
No, it was a third-person platformer, puzzler, stealth action. And yeah, it was fun. And the characters in the world was fun. And this new one just looks oppressive and horrible, and it's not Beyond Good and Evil, in my opinion. And I know everyone's saying it looks amazing. I'm like, well, we'll see. Well, we'll see.
So I didn't seem interested by it. I thought that was the game you were going to bring up and start.
I'm also going to bring up Sea of Thieves. And it's a bit of a surprise for me. I never thought I'd be too interested in it, but it is from Rare. And Rare have made some really good games in the past. And everyone kind of was a bit upset when Microsoft brought them out. And it was really a case of Microsoft bailing them out back in the time when Nintendo screwed over Rare.
Yeah, they lost it.
Do you reckon any of you are taken from Assassin's Creed Black Flag?
I saw a lot of Black Flag in it.
I'm just
not
not
a lot of the
interested
piracy stuff.
Because there is actually a bit for Assassin's Creed.
Ubisoft are making a pirates game inspired by the gameplay from Assassin's Creed, and it is just a pirates game with all the pirates bits. I'm not sure what it's called. I remember glimpsing a trailer and going, I need to come back and look at that.
Right.
But Sea of Thieves looks like it's fun, like simplistically fun. Mm-hmm. And having a group of players together on that game, that's all it's going to need.
I got a big feel of, for some reason, I got a big feel of Fable from Sea of Thieves.
Yes, yeah, it has that cartoony art style to it.
It's got a cartoony art style. I was just like, could this work? Is this the Fable pirate game that everybody was always going on about and lost?
I'm quite liking the look of it, you know, getting on the cannons and burying your treasure and avoiding sharks and forcing opponents to walk the plank.
Okay.
It was quite a low polygon style, wasn't it? So that suggests it might be quite a large game.
I would hope so. I
suppose the potential's there if it's really...
Yeah, going back all the way to Sid Meier's
Exactly, I was about to say, I haven't played a good pirate game since that.
Was absolutely amazing.
Really?
Travelling from port to port, fighting big sea battles, dealing with people invading your ship. Obviously, now if you bring in a multiplayer factor, that can work because you can obviously get guilds built up and, you know, cover certain parts of the land and get gang fights going on, as long as it all works.
Yeah.
You know, if you get onto a multiplayer basis and there's only 4 of you on a map and you can all fight each other but you don't really go on missions.
Well, it's the fact that you can be the 4 of you on a ship and that you can be out in the world, you can go onto an island and then all of a sudden you see an enemy ship in the horizon and you've got to get back on your ship, man the guns, get into a good position, and it's just sort of dynamic combat because they might not fight you. They might just broadside you and just have a look.
Yeah.
You know, you never know. It's all going to be player interactive sort of storytelling. And with the theme of pirates, keeping it simple, it's going to be spontaneous. It's not going to get dull. It's going to get repetitive, but I don't think it will get dull quickly, depending on the players you're playing.
Yeah, not quickly, yeah.
So leaving the cartoon world behind, my next game from E3 is The Evil Within 2.
You did like the first one.
I did love the first one. I was quite surprised by it. I also really appreciate the sort of the play on the fact that it's still Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But it's The Evil Within. And it's from the original game developers from Resident Evil, and it did, for the most it semi brought back the survival horror. The game still dissolved into an action-y fest.
Yes, yeah.
Then again,
it was a bit dull, wasn't it? It was a bit.
No,
you sort of see it coming. The whole.
I saw the ending coming, but I also enjoyed the way that it played out. I enjoyed it until the end, and then until the ending actually spelled it out, and I was like, I need like DLC to understand fully what just happened.
Yeah.
But I was still compelled to play the game through multiple times to actually go and find the extra documents and figure out more of the story and more of the lore of some of the horrific characters that you meet in this world. I won't go into the spoilers because it's when the game comes down in price, I recommend it as a budget horror Halloween-y type game to play. It's got some good jump scares and the action is in there.
Well, hopefully they expand on that in the sequel.
From what I've seen of the sequel,
storyline to follow. Yeah. Yes, the same kind of action gore fest, but at the same time, bit more puzzly.
I don't know, just more interesting villains. I don't want to see Mr. Chainsaw Man or Mr. Sack on his head man again. Right. Yeah, just more interesting monsters.
I found it a little bit dull, if I'm honest, the first one. I don't know what they could do to liven it up a bit, but it was just a bit kind of linear and a bit...
I thought that the backgrounds and the environmental changes were great. You had the mental asylum, and then you had this massive sort of open forested area, and then there was like old town areas. So I like the fact that it kept changing its environments.
It was kind of Silent Hillish, I suppose, in its sort of layout, wasn't it?
I kind of saw a lot of the suffering in it.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with a bit of the suffering. Yeah,
it was like I said, it's a lot of action-orientated monster battles.
There is, I mean, on the much harder difficulties, there is like a single hit kill you sort of. So you have to run and you have to sort of use the environment and set fires and distractions.
Yeah, actually,
get past your enemies.
Really worked for it.
Yeah. The next game I want to talk about quickly is Divinity Original Sin 2, and that's only because it looks like it's going to have a Dungeon Master mode. Which is something incredible, and it's not even the main feature of the game, it's an extra feature. And basically it means you get everyone together on one server, and you nominate one of you to be the DM, and he has control of all the NPCs, all the monsters, can do whatever he wants, and he roleplays every character in the game for the players, and roleplays his own story.
Wow.
And so it's like, it's Dungeons and Dragons in a nutshell, but in a virtual game world, and in that game's sort of rules restrictions. But it means that it's visual for everybody. It's tabletop with the visual representation. It's the best thing other than having a holographic board game with everyone.
Do like user generated content?
I so hope they do, because if they do, that game will be fantastic. I just hope they really work on it, get all the kinks out of it, and that there should be its own game, not just an extra feature to Divinity Original Sin.
That'd be exciting. Make it 4-player co-op as well.
Yes, yeah. Now, this next story, I didn't actually see the presentation for it, but it's got me really excited, and it's for DLC. Okay. And it's DLC for XCOM 2. Which has got me really excited. I'm like, when this comes out, I'm buying that, and I'm going to replay that game again. I didn't think I would. But I'm going to.
Trailers of new characters
for this feature. They've brought in 2 new characters, and 2 new voice actors, both from Star Trek: The Next Generation, Marina Sirtis, and Michael Dorn.
Nice.
Right.
And what they're
Troy
doing,
and Worf.
Troy and Worf, and they are adding bonds between the troopers, between the Resistance fighters. The more they fight with each other, the more bonds that they build between each other, and you'll unlock special abilities, like if one of them fires, the other one might then also fire on that target for free. Okay. So they build extra perks with each other.
Nice.
As a handicap, though, if you send the same soldier repeatedly on missions, they become tired. And if you continue to send them, they start to get quirks. Sort of negative quirks. So you've got to balance your bonds with your team and pace who goes on what missions.
And they fire like extra ammo every time they fire or something.
Exactly. So your soldiers are going to... You can't overuse them. You need to build up...
without building up too many bad traits.
That's right. They're also adding zombies. There's already zombies in the game, but they're adding zombies that are not under control of the aliens. These are zombies that will attack you and the aliens. So it's like a third sort of entity on the battlefield, just to mix things up a little bit more.
Flood.
I never completed the
They
second
are
one.
also adding, and this is what I've been calling for. They're adding a nemesis system from Shadow of Mordor into XCOM 2, where certain enemies that you will fight will give up the fight and run and come back after you in later rounds.
Is that
something that was added with sort of the boss modes where you had the Great Hunts?
Yeah.
But they're moving that forward and introducing more enemies that will come up, fight you and retreat or come back. Or if they kill a trooper, they're going to remember it and get upgraded for it.
Oh,
so
nasty.
I'm like, wow, there's so many little things they're adding into it that's just
that does sound good.
really, really good.
I get the feeling a lot of that is probably inspired by the mod community. I think I've seen sort of mods that suggested things like that, like different bosses are kind of, and worked different sort of graded bosses into the game at different points and had systems like that. So that's the cool thing about modding, isn't it? Is all these different community people put ideas into a game, and then it just becomes until so they much bigger than when it started.
Until the Grand Theft Auto 5 occurrence happens.
Until they start modding it until they break the game.
What is wrong with them? Do you know what I mean? Like, just kick yourself in the arse.
No, it's because Rockstar realised modders were ruining the online experience where they make a lot of their money. So if people stopped playing Grand Theft Auto 5 because all these modders were ruining the game,
I
don't know. I was under the impression there's only modders left playing the game.
That's why they did it. That's the only reason they did it. They stopped modding to stop the cheaters.
They get a fortune for selling that game. They sell absolutely masses of it. It's always at the top
I heard
of the
story. They should do it. If you were the owner and they were like, we're losing money on Grand Theft Auto, we need to either stop the modders or just make a new game right now to make money back.
For me,
mods, stop the modders.
Mods is what keeps the longevity of these games going way past their sell-by date, and taking away mods is just neutering it and it's souring
when was the last
a fan
time you played
base.
Skyrim?
Something like that.
When was the last time you played Skyrim?
Belongs to the community.
When was the last time you played Skyrim?
I don't know, on the Xbox 360.
Exactly, and
when it first came out,
bought it for this and upgraded it with all these. We stood in this room and you were like, Ian, look at that grass. Doesn't that look like the most amazing grass? And I'm like, yeah, it looks really good. Did you ever play Skyrim all the way through? No. Modded the shit out of it, yeah. But did you play it? No. It's like...
I played it a lot. I mean, it's still like one of my third most played games, probably. Third or fourth most played
But then, on the other hand, if you were one of these people who modded a game just to go on Grand Theft Auto 5, right, not do any of the missions and just make shitloads of money by standing around and killing everybody, then yeah, they need to ban you. Because you're a douche.
That's banning cheaters, but there are legitimate good mods. You know, mods should be for the single player experience.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able. It shouldn't stop people being able to run their own servers.
It doesn't change console versions.
And have modded versions.
Exactly
of
that.
It doesn't change console versions, but then at the same time, it was console versions that were taking a massive hit.
Was it console versions on their own system?
Right. What's next?
Okay, we're going to move on to some film news.
Oh, wait. I have got one more game from E3 that I saw. Oh, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. For the Nintendo Switch. That looked amazing. Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii was one of the best RPGs up there. You know, if you're talking
the first one.
If you're talking top 10 RPGs.
So what is it about Xenoblade Chronicles?
It's an open, basically, it's a massive, huge world where obviously you run around as your character, getting into fights like in Final Fantasy, leveling up, and
unlocking this like Final Fantasy, and it's like turn-based with a timer on it.
Not turn-based. When you get into everything's real time. So when you get into combat, you can actually move around your enemy, and it works in the benefit that when you do certain attacks,
a hack and slash,
if you do it from the side, it will stun the enemy.
Is it a hack and slash?
More like controlled and slash. You know, you have to know the arts that you're using to fight the right enemy.
Right.
And then when you've got your team there as well, up to 3 other characters, they have bonds as well, much like Xcom. And if they work well together, they will pull off their combos a lot easier.
So you're just sort of moving around, but casting just spells and abilities.
You've got your standard healer, you've got your blunt force tank, you've got your You've got your main character who uses the Monado, which is a special type of sword. And now the special type of sword upgrades over time, and with that you can slow down time or do extra attacks.
So say you got a sword, can you go like attack, and he'll do a 3/ move.
No, because you've got the arts at the bottom of the screen. In the old one, you actually had a line of art that you had to flick through, and it would cost so many action points to pull them off during the combat. In this new one, it has been set around the button, so I suppose you could keep tapping, but with the fact you've got three-dimensional fights, you want to move yourself into a better position to do a critical attack and do enough damage onto it as well. Yeah. But I mean, I don't care what people say about the Switch. I've always loved Nintendo, and the Switch, I'm tempted to buy Skyrim for it. Saying that, I'm tempted to buy Skyrim for it.
Why?
So that because you could carry the Switch around with you. You know? I can take it to work, hook it up,
you just got yourself a decent PC then.
I have just got myself a decent PC.
So why don't you just get Skyrim on that?
Because he won't be able to play Skyrim on the toilet.
Yeah. and plus, I want to play Super Mario Odyssey as well. There's a big upheaval about that because Mario supposedly is able to take control of people.
Real people, like human people.
With his hat.
Yeah. Have you got a Switch?
No, but I am tempted.
You're going to get one.
Yeah. It's got new Lego games come out, and Dylan and Linda love the Lego games. Whenever there's a Lego game
I will say the Nintendo is the best, I would say, family console for games.
Yeah, definitely.
All around.
Definitely. And
just think how many cool games you could get to play with us, though.
Yeah, saying that,
talking about games, money that you spend on a Switch.
I'm going to throw this out there for my son. He completed Portal 2.
Very good.
He completed Portal 2.
Yeah.
I sat there with him, and
he's done better than I have.
Portal is pretty easy to complete once you know what you're doing.
Right.
But still, when you walk into one of those big test chambers, and you're like, what?
Exactly. I had because I wanted to just keep going with Portal 2. I had a friend sit with me so we could both sort of brainstorm, figure out the solutions because we just wanted to hear the next bit of dialogue. Yeah. We just wanted to burn through that game. We just wanted to devour it. It's so good.
Yeah, the interaction.
But good for him. Some of those puzzles were really tricky.
Yeah. That was good.
So you did the single player or the co-op?
He did the single player. We're halfway through the co-op now.
That's cool.
We're halfway through that.
Okay, so I think we're ready to move on to film news, and I'm going to bring us down a little bit because there's quite a few deaths, unfortunately, to talk about.
No.
We're going to start with one of my favourite directors, and that was John G. Avildsen.
Okay.
He directed Rocky.
Oh,
and
damn.
Rocky is one of my all-time favourite films. Absolutely, it's my favourite Rocky film.
Directed Rocky.
No, that's one of them. That's the thing. That's one of the most common misconceptions about Rocky is that he didn't direct it.
He wrote it.
Sylvester Stallone said he owes his career to John for directing Rocky in the way he did and for the passion that he brought to it.
Yeah.
He's also the same guy that directed all 3 Karate Kid films, so you can kind of see that he has a penchant for the underdog. You know? But come on, he made Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi household names as well as Rocky.
Yeah, there's no denying Karate Kid 1 is awesome, but come on, Karate Kid 2 and 3 are milking the franchise.
Yes, but there's still moments in those films, and I know Karate Kid 3 is absolute trite.
Sorry,
but I still kind of like it.
I take back what I just said because I've just remembered Karate Kid 3 with that guy with the ponytail.
Yes.
Who comes back with the Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Guy,
it's just
and
it trains him all wrong.
And his whole story would Karate Kid 3 is awesome. I just remembered it. Yeah. Karate Kid 3 is awesome.
So unfortunately he passed away at the age of 81.
Damn.
And this is probably the most well-known celebrity that recently passed away, and that is Batman icon Adam West, who passed away at 88.
The mayor of Quahog.
The mayor of Quahog from Family Guy. 1960s Batman. And the movie. And that really was what put West on the map, because even though it was a campy show, it was the only live-action Batman. And I've seen every episode of it. Me and my brother grew up watching it. We just couldn't believe the Joker was this cartoonish clown. It was just like, really?
He's a clown.
Yeah.
But 1960s, it was the time of free love, and he must have got Adam West must have got laid like fuck during the 60s. I mean, pardon my French, but if he turned up at your 1960s drug-filled love party, dressed in that Batman outfit with his voice.
Yeah, that's it. That was it. That was the thing that carried him, is his voice as well. The way he carried on Bruce Wayne as well.
It was genuinely they must. I think they knew what they were doing.
Well, the thing
it was a kind
what
of
worked was that he was so serious. about everything.
They were selling it,
and everything around him was as camp, as cheesy as you could get, and it just worked. It's still rewatchable today with the whole kung pao bang wallop.
I think he knew what he was doing as well. I think he, he had that down. He was definitely just like trying to be the dry straight man to the ridiculousness of it all. I think, and it was brilliant.
And that chemistry,
Bruce
that
Wayne
balance.
Was a pimp.
Yeah, definitely. So that's going to bring us on to our third actor who made it further than the other two to the ripe old age of 96.
Nice going,
which is good.
Yeah,
and that's Peter Salas, one of my favourite TV actors.
Was that
the Last of the Summer Wine? Oh. He appeared in more episodes than any other cast member. God. He was also the voice of Wallace from Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
You know? Cheese!
Gromit,
so I was very sad to hear that he passed away.
90 years older.
96 years old. He was in Hammer
96.
films like he made it to 96.
96.
The Taste of Dracula, Scream and Scream Again, a lot of other British horror films. He's just a legend, just constantly going.
And it doesn't matter, right? Because Last of Summer Wine is one of those TV shows. It doesn't matter how old you are when you watch it. It's really soothing.
It's sort of like a timeless. Things have, it's gone for a long time.
Yeah,
the world's changed around it. It's been almost exactly.
It ran from 1973 to 2010.
Yeah,
that's incredible. It was a staple of Sunday television.
Yeah,
and it'll be forever rerun. Yeah, just like Wallace and Gromit, I guess, every Christmas.
Yeah,
Benny Hill.
Yeah. Okay, so moving past the unfortunates into more unfortunates.
Yeah.
As Damon Lindelof is now developing a Watchmen series for HBO.
Could be good.
It could be good. Now, Watchmen was always supposed to be, the unfilmable.
Yeah.
And then the film came out from Zack Snyder, and everyone went, "Oh my God, you killed it! Terribly, you murdered it!"
How?
A lot of people hated it. There was a huge critical backlash. I enjoy Watchmen too. It's and I'm not a big fan of Zack Snyder, but I kind of enjoyed the visualization of Watchmen. I switched my brain off and I was sold for 3 hours. Really enjoyed it. Now, there have been prequel books to Watchmen, which comic fans and fans of Watchmen have actually really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So there is this extended story that's opening up. So the potential for telling Watchmen through a TV series, it looks like it could be a departure from the source material. Or it could be something sweet. But with Damon Lindelof involved, I'm just going to say it's happening. We'll see.
They just want to cash in on Rorschach. I mean, Rorschach was amazing in the comic book.
Yes.
And then even better on screen.
Yes, I thought it's a great depiction. Unfortunately, he was terrible as Freddy.
Yeah, okay, the actor wasn't so good as Freddy, but obviously that was the script wise anyway. For Watchmen, he really came across as the guy that you saw in the comic book.
Yeah.
And I love the comic book. I read it like 3 or 4 times just to get my mind around what was going on. And I'm kind of glad they changed the ending. I mean, I don't know if you remember the ending in the comic book.
Yeah.
He transports a giant fucking psychic squid into the middle of New York and it kills like 100 million people. So that's his point of proving, I believe, that the world needs superheroes.
Yeah.
So in the movie, it's like, well, we can't get a psychic squid.
And it would maybe not work visually.
We'll drop a nuclear bomb in there.
Yeah, it's the most,
And they just translate it that way, and I'm just like, done. I'm sold.
So who is the character that you're referring to?
Rorschach. The one with the mask.
The changing face.
The changing face.
Right.
And he was, the best character to get behind him.
I really like the Night Owl story.
The Night Owl's a bit like Batman, but the way his character was, he was a bit of a coward as well. That's why he hung up his cape and just kind of stepped back. Rorschach was like, no.
Never. Yeah.
This needs to be done,
Well, speaking of adaptations, but it looks like there's going to be another with Sin City, the TV series in development.
Okay.
Len Wiseman is on to direct at least one episode, probably the pilot, just to sort of set the standard and the visual sort of presentation that they're going for. Again, unknown whether it's going to be a departure from the source material or whether it's definitely not going to include any of the movies. It's probably going to retread some of those stories for its TV
Dark
format.
Dark in the city,
Yeah. So
Sin City was kind of one of those things that didn't really go anywhere, though, did it? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's a dark, violent, graphic noir with lots of interesting characters that don't always interact but have repercussions against each other.
Yeah.
There isn't really like an overarching thread to the narrative, is there, really? Though?
Well, everybody ends up dead, usually.
It's just a kind of, here's a depiction of
and why, and
how shit everything is in this town.
It does twist your view sometimes, because you look at the characters and you go, you should be the villain, but you're not as bad as the guy you're actually going after. That guy
it's villains versus villains.
Yeah,
in a
it's
way,
villains versus villains. There's no really, like, innocent people there. They're all guilty of something. Which works, but then again, as a TV series... You know,
it just doesn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? There's no characters there you're rooting for. You're not excited for it. It's hard. I find it hard to like Sin City, even though I like it's stylistic.
I'm just going to say Jessica
cartoony.
Alba bar dance.
That is good. Yeah. I like Brittany Murphy in the original one. She's a really good character.
I like it as a creation in terms of like the scenes and stuff. You know, it's like a kind of.
He made me watch.
He made me watch. Yeah. I suppose you could almost like look at it as like a sequence of mini stories.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it
is. A collection of stories, like I said, that don't always interlock, but it's still an experience of just being in this world,
conjuring a world.
Yeah. So I'm willing to give the TV show a chance and see what they do with it. And the next story is a bit of a celebration, especially for Terry Gilliam, who has finally finished filming The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. This film it's got sort of an incredible history where he tried to make the film, and through one disaster after another, you know, I think at one point they were hit with a hurricane which just destroyed the entire set.
Wow.
They set back millions and then I think Johnny Depp was originally starring in the film.
Yeah.
The film eventually just became an actual documentary in 2002, just documenting the catastrophe that was getting this film made.
Shit.
But now the film is actually finished. Terry Gilliam has announced the film is finished filming.
Terry Gilliam doesn't give up. When he puts his mind to something, he will go for it. I mean, look at Imaginarium of Dr. Panasas.
Yes.
The fucking shit they went through that, and still when it came out, I was just like, that's really good.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoy Terry Gilliam movies that you never know what you're going to get with his films. They're just a mind-bending
Did he do
trip.
Time Bandits?
I think so, yes.
He did Time Bandits. Time Bandits is awesome.
Time Bandits is brilliant. Yeah. We need to review Time Bandits.
No, we need to do that and The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
And Brazil.
Oh, Brazil as well. 12 Monkeys. Yeah.
Alright, so our next story is Neil Blomkamp has finally come out and started talking about District 9 sequel.
Oh
man, you're about to bring it up, aren't you? I better get my tissues.
You could ruin it though.
I better get my tissues.
He said that right now that District 9 sequel is sort of in the works. He says he definitely does plan to go back and tell another story in that universe.
Yeah.
Whether it follows any of those characters, I don't know, but I think it's just another story in that universe, which is fine. Yeah. He said right now he really does want to go back and work with Weta, who worked on the original. But, still working things out, because right now, he's heavily involved in his Oats Studio project.
You haven't seen this, have you, Geoff?
Sowing his oats.
Oats Studio.
He is working on a series of short films that are between, anywhere really, he said, between 5 and 20 minutes long. They're sort of shorts, and none of them, they're all in different universes, and they're all sci-fi-esque, and he said that they're going to get more and more fucked up as they go, because the sky's the limit, imagination's the limit, design what you want, visualize it, let's experiment and do it. It looks like a giant frickin' playground. It looks like an ultimate designers and practical effects and special effects designers' wet dream to go and work at Oat Studio right now, because none of it is for studios or for whether you care or not. They're making it for the love of it, for research to see what works. It looks great, and the first film that they've released, which was, what was it called?
It was Raqqa. It was 20 minutes long.
I've downloaded that on Steam.
Yeah, it came up on my Facebook feed, and I was just like, really, Neil Blomkamp, Sigourney Weaver. So I clicked on it and watched it.
It's only about 20 minutes long.
As soon as I got halfway through it, I messaged Gary and said, you need to see this.
I was already on it.
Because it's basically, the story of this video is aliens have invaded Earth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like a reptilian snake-like creature that stands on its legs with 4 arms. They've got fucking advanced technology.
Yeah.
They've literally laid waste, fucking destroyed the
Judgment
Earth.
Day style.
They have
slapped
slapped dead bodies on the Eiffel Tower, right? They are...
Right, say no more.
Yeah, to the audience as well. All we got to say is you have to go watch it.
Yeah, you have to go watch it.
It's free on YouTube, it's free on Steam.
It was amazing. I was
20 minutes, isn't it?
That 20-minute video was so much better than Alien Covenant.
Yes, it was in every way. And that is what's going to get me to this point, which I'm going to try not to get angry, but I'm already feeling my blood reaching a boiling point.
Okay.
Because this is what I was saying was just should have happened. After seeing what Neil Blomkamp is doing, in a recent interview at the same time, he was asked what's happening with Alien 5. And he's told everyone, don't hold your breath. I think it's dead. Yes. And he said he is absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
He said he spent a really long time working on that project and he thought that it was going to be awesome. Sigourney Weaver was going to come back to the Alien franchise. She thought it was awesome. But he said that politically, the way it's gone and the way it is now, it's not going to live. I mean, Fox has done it in. It's not... Alien 5 is not happening anymore.
Basically, because Alien Covenant
Because of Alien
failed.
Covenant,
because
exactly.
Alien Covenant failed, the studios have turned around and gone, nope, no more films because the people don't know what they want and we keep giving them this stuff and they don't enjoy it. And we're like, no, we do enjoy it, but you keep changing the rules.
Yeah.
You know, you have something that is set in place and is designed as one thing. Neil Blomkamp understands that. Yes, okay, he is getting rid of Alien 3 and Resurrection, but he might have told it a different way. He was getting Sigourney Weaver back, and from the effects that he had in District 9, and the way he did District 9, easily could have just had... not District 9, sorry, Chappie. Yeah. When I watched Chappie and you see all those robots moving and start taking people out, I imagined xenomorphs. If you had xenomorphs instead, they would look amazing. And with the fact that you had the graphics from District 9, he would have done an amazing job. But because Ridley Scott came along and went, this is what the franchise actually does. All the fans
He's already had talks with Fox to talk about the following 2 sequels to Covenant. And from the looks of things, there will be another Alien movie because Ridley Scott has a vision and a plan as to how this all ties up together.
Yeah.
And we are still yet to see this in fruition.
So that means Scott's got the
he holds
one
it.
anyway.
Yes,
whatever,
no matter what
he's doing.
Yes, so that's why Alien 5 is done.
Blomkamp's just off it.
Yeah, he's off. There's no Alien 5. It's not there.
This
anymore.
is where I reckon this is where the film studios will fucking build over.
Did they put Blomkamp in first and then go, oh fuck it, let's do Scott instead?
Yeah, Scott was already done Prometheus. That was already out, and then Blomkamp was like Alien 5. Fox were like, oh shit, yeah, this looks really good. Sigourney Weaver's included. Yes, we'll go with this. And then Ridley Scott went, my sequel to Prometheus, it's now Alien. It's now an Alien film.
Yeah.
And so they were like, oh, well, we don't want to release 2 Alien movies at once. So we'll give it to Ridley Scott because he made the first one, right? Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Look at him. Everyone loves Ridley Scott. He's doing Blade Runner 2 at the moment. They're going to love that.
Oh, my God.
So do you think Ridley Scott's doing a George Lucas?
Oh, he totally has done, and he's fucked the franchise. It's
just gone into a little echo chamber where everybody goes, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea." And
I think so, and he's just rolled with it. And all I can say for Alien Covenant is that it is still a beautiful-looking film, and it sounds fantastic. But the story and everything else is just so bad.
Yeah, trying to connect it to the Alien franchise, it's really difficult too.
So if you could have any way with it, would you wipe out
Prometheus?
3, Prometheus?
No, I love Alien 3 and Resurrection. You know, even though I slate Resurrection, it's still better than Covenant because it knows what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would, and then you would lose Prometheus.
I still
Covenant.
Prometheus didn't fuck up too much. It didn't.
Really?
Well, yeah, it didn't.
Really?
It didn't fuck up the Alien storyline. You could still kind of see how it may fit to Alien.
Yeah, you could. By the end of it, you could maybe see how it fits to Alien. But he had such an easy line to go with. But he just went, nah, I'm going to do my own thing, and people will enjoy it. And we sat there and went,
I think they just had too many different writers with too many different ideas, and then they just...
What if you could lose the lore of all of it to replace going from 1 to 2 and then completely start again with new lore after 2?
Well, that's what Neil Blomkamp was going to do.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but they're not doing it.
Would you be happy with that?
Yes, I already said I would be. No, it's Alien 3's still not going anywhere.
You need to make the alien. You need to make the alien the star. You know, and this is what I believe Blomkamp would have done.
And I don't want to see too much CGI alien either.
Just aliens running around killing people, and
James Cameron proved you didn't need a CGI alien.
We weren't scared of the alien in Covenant.
No.
We weren't even scared of David, and he's the main fucking bad guy. We were just like,
So what would...
Spoiler, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what would you do for an Alien
make the
3 as it should be?
Make the alien the star. Make a bunch of... Right, okay, you keep it really simple. You've got a bunch of people on a space tug floating through space. Oh, they hear this horrible signal. Don't go down there, but they're going to go down there anyway. They get attacked by a bunch of facehuggers. They take somebody on board. The alien breaks loose. Then they realise there's fucking shit tons of aliens. You know? Maybe there's a colony down there.
You'd have like a space station or
You could have a space station, a military base, a spaceship in space. You could have anything as long as you've got aliens scrambling on the walls, leaping at people.
You know what I thought would be a really good idea for a film would be the Alien Isolation game.
Yeah.
It worked. That worked. You know, just maybe include more of the actual station and what was happening, as well as the androids becoming faulty. It was a good setup. Yeah. It would at least be a horror movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's like, I didn't think you should mess with the Alien films anymore. As much as I would love a good Alien movie, that the more you keep adding past the original 4 films, not one of them has been a good Alien film.
It's like Jaws series all over again.
So there hasn't been a good Alien film in nearly 20 years or more. So just stop. So this is going to get us to our trailers section. We've got 2 trailers. Two trailers that I've picked out. And the first one, out of curiosity more than anything, because it's kind of fan of the original cult film, Flatliners, which came out in 1990.
Yeah.
It was one of Schumacher's films. It's the one he made after Lost Boys.
Yeah. Sutherland again.
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland, Kevin Bacon, Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
And so now we have a remake with Ellen Page. And interestingly, it's by the director, the original Swedish director of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Okay. Which is what also made me go, okay.
This could be
so, other than being a remake, they brought in a talented, good director that might be able to salvage this from being a cliched Hollywood tropey horror film.
Wow.
Especially with the fact that they've got some decent actors in
of this remake, don't you?
Well, after seeing the trailer, I'm like, okay, it still seems very paint by numbers.
Yes.
But I want to see those things that come back. Because if you don't know what Flatliners is, the simple premise is it's a bunch of really smart people decide that it's going to be a great idea.
Doctors, not just smart people.
To kill themselves and bring themselves back to life and try and document what they see in the afterlife, what happens. And I think that's a great concept for a film.
It is a really great concept.
But it does turn into the fact that the boogeyman comes from the other place and hunts them down and kills them.
It worked well in the 80s.
Is it a psychological thing?
Yes,
it more
is.
Psychological than...
In a way, yeah.
If you've seen the original, you already know what the story is going to be. And I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen the original. If you want to go and watch the original, because Kiefer Sutherland's brilliant in it, Kevin Bacon's brilliant in it, Julia Roberts is brilliant. You know, they're the fleshlings of their career.
Do you feel like it didn't need to be remade?
You know,
probably.
Saying that with remakes, they would have probably done it anyway and changed the name. I like Ellen Page, and she could probably deliver a really good performance as this Doctor. But I've already predicted how the film is going to go. So for me, it's a DVD.
It's going to be a rental,
It's a DVD.
After seeing the
I'll probably buy
trailer,
that and the original and just have them both at home.
Maybe,
You know, but Ellen Page. You know, as long as she doesn't rape anybody like Super, that'd be weird.
That'd be cool.
Oh man. Would it be weird, okay, if in Flatliners, when she's dead, she runs through a wall like Kitty Pryde from X-Men?
That'd be good. She should. Definitely.
That'd be weird.
So my next trailer is come from Edgar Wright, who I'm always curious to see any film that he's gonna direct, and I wasn't even aware of it until the trailer popped out. Baby Driver.
Yeah. And
the concept is pretty simple. It's a getaway driver who wants one last job, and of course, eventually, you know, the whoever's controlling him's just like, no, No, you
Kevin
work for me.
Spacey.
And it's Kevin Spacey, of course. So I'm like,
Spacey,
okay,
Batman.
that's it. If Kevin Spacey's the main bad guy, you're like, yeah, kind of interesting. You've also got Jamie Foxx in there.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other really good actors in there.
Hey, baby.
And so, yeah, it's stylistically an Edgar Wright film. Story-wise, yeah, we've seen this done before, but never told in this way.
For me, it's going to be an awesome heist movie.
It's going to be an awesome and great car chases by the looks of it.
I love the Transporter movies, and just car chases alone. Come on, the car chases alone, when they do stunts with cars, even though it's not Jason Statham or whoever it is playing Baby in the car, they just look really cool, especially if you use all real cars.
Yeah.
No CGI, and that's what this film looks like it has. On top of that, you've got probably, I want to say, stellar performances from Kevin Spacey. It's Kevin Spacey.
He can phone it in from the looks of it, and it's still going to be great.
He just walks in the room and go, "What do you want me to do?"
He is Kaiser Soze, so...
Yeah.
It's fucking John Doe.
Yeah, it looks brilliant. And Edgar Wright, I always have to pinch myself and remember he did Ant-Man.
Yes.
And Ant-Man
well, he walked away from Ant-Man sort of towards the end of it.
Well, he's still credited, though.
Yeah.
And it is outstanding.
It's not one of the best Marvel superhero films, but it's still enjoyable.
Come on, the guy shrinks down to minute proportions.
Well, yeah, he's Ant-Man. Of course he's going to.
Yeah, but there's no other film on standard to go, what's Ant-Man better than? Ant-Man's just good. And plus the way that it flows into funny. The Avenger movie. I'm not even arguing with you guys.
It's not that amazing.
I'm not arguing with you.
Well, so we don't get
it's not Captain America, is it?
Which one? I mean, the original Captain America is good, but Winter Soldier's a better movie. And then Civil War, Captain America's Civil War is fucking better than the other two.
No, it's not.
Yes, yes, it is. The fight sequences.
No,
all three of them, I think, are
at least Winter Soldier it works as a standalone film as well.
Yeah, yes. Winter Soldier works as a standalone film. That was when they were not so concerned about connecting them all.
Well, it was
but the darkness,
Captain America film.
The darkness
where Civil War was not just a Captain America film.
The darkness in Winter Soldier is really, really good. Couple that in Civil War with the spoilers, the connection between Winter Soldier and Tony Stark and his family makes it even fucking better.
Yeah.
And then obviously the fight sequences, Giant Man turning up, Spider-Man doing this thing, Black Panther ripping out his
Spider-Man again for that first time in ages.
The fact that the main villain isn't a super villain, he's just a normal guy seeking revenge. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Played them all.
Mastermind. Played them all, yeah.
Well, speaking of superheroes and supervillains, it's time to bring this part of the podcast to a close as we move on to the second part, talking about everyone's favourite double agent, 007. Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of the podcast. Well, we're here to talk about James Bond, 007. And wow, this is a character that has become an icon. He is like a national treasure.
Yeah.
To England, to Britain.
Yeah.
If you account for inflation, apparently he is the biggest movie series ever.
Yeah.
Movie series franchise ever.
Of course, he's gone through, the character has been played by numerous actors, he's gone through numerous directors, writers, and every film has been a staple of the time to which the films were coming out.
Yeah.
Now, I personally am a Roger Moore fan, and you can sort of tell people's favourite Bonds by sort of how old they are.
Yeah.
Because everyone grew up through a different Bond. Like, there'll be people growing up now that will recognise Daniel Craig as Bond.
Yeah.
And when he gets replaced, they will just be like, Daniel Craig's Bond. Like, screw all these new people playing the part.
Bond's a massive part of my 80s childhood.
Absolutely. If you grew up in the 80s, odds are Roger Moore is your Bond. And
always on TV. Well, I mean, all of them were always on TV for me, because my dad used to love Bond. So anytime any Bond was on TV...
Whose dad didn't love Bond?
He would have either taped it or,
For me, it was a next-door neighbour who actually had every single VHS Bond movie.
Nice.
And so it was literally a treasure trove of just going, I'll borrow this one. 2 hours later, I'll borrow this one.
Yeah.
And once I'd got through the whole series, this was pre-Brosnan, so it ended at the Roger Moore films, and then it'd be like, I'll go back and watch them again, and then you'd find the ones that you would skip.
Have Timothy Dalton?
The Timothy Dalton ones are in there, but...
I was going to say, Timothy Dalton was before Brosnan.
Yeah, but I kind of... my first introduction to his film, I stopped watching it, though. I couldn't get through Dalton's Bond. It's only much later, as I was much older, that I went back to rewatch it again, but I'd become so accustomed to Moore that I was just like, who's this? This isn't Bond. And that was when I realised that multiple actors had played him.
Okay, yeah.
And, and then it was like, okay, so... And then I didn't know the timeline of when these films came out either, so I watched them in random orders.
Yeah.
Just going, some of them were better than others.
Yeah.
But you soon sort of realised that James Bond sort of started its own genre of film. When the first film came out, this is post-World War II.
Yeah.
And a lot of the films at the time were kind of kitchen sink dramas. They were all very safe, unexciting stories. And then all of a sudden, people were reading Ian Fleming's books.
Yeah.
And the James Bond character literally leapt off the page because of how radical he was in the time of the 60s.
Yeah, seducing women, beating the bad guys, shooting all the henchmen.
And so it transitioned so well with Sean Connery that they literally invented that subgenre of film, and by the second and third film, it was a phenomenon already. It was, just the red carpets, the press, everything, just all the media attention, to the point where it impacted on everyday people. James Bond became a household name.
Yeah,
it was a case of women lusted after Bond, and sort of men, if they were even if you just sort of catch 5 minutes of James Bond, you just watch men's postures change instantly.
Yeah, that music comes on.
The back broadens up, the neck stiffens, the back stiffens.
In the room,
women want him. Men want to be him.
Absolutely. And that hasn't changed no matter what decade of Bond you're in.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the 70s lost touch of that, though. Do you know what I mean? They got Roger Moore in. Roger Moore, I feel like, he had the look, he had the sort of suaveness, he had like 80% of Bond, but he couldn't do the real fighting, really. And he was just always a bit too tongue-in-cheek.
The thing with Roger Moore was that he said many times, I am not a stunt person.
Well,
so he refused to do a lot of his own stunts.
And it really shows, and having to stick with having him as Bond meant all the fight sequences that Sean Connery would do, he would have punch-ups. Yeah, all right, it's 60s and 70s, you know what I mean? It was still like they would do chops to the back of the neck.
Yeah.
And people would just be completely unconscious after a chop.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the action was dated, and obviously the development of the stunts has come on leaps and bounds. You can watch it improve through the 80s massively. Yeah. But the 70s and the 60s are fairly similar. Like, progress was relatively slow. It got a bit more tasty, but Sean Connery would do his own stunts, and he would do like quite, relatively dangerous action scenes, which Roger Moore is just completely absent from Bond then. So Bond then has a completely different kind of tack. They have to think of all these sort of different ways for him to get out of situations, and they have scenarios where it's much more like kind of gun battles focused. So the nature of Bond completely has to change. The nature of the whole stories, how contrived the situations are that Bond gets into gets even worse because the limitations you can't just have a punch up.
Beauty of Bond.
You have even longer car chases.
As soon
and
as
stuff.
you hear that music, it doesn't matter. Whoever is playing James Bond, as soon as the guy goes James Bond, he's gonna kick ass. All the way through. He's going to sweet talk his way in and out of scenarios.
You know what you're getting on, exactly what it says on the tin.
Every single guy, and he's going to defeat all the bosses.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever watched Bond, I was on holiday with my family, and we were either packing to go or coming in to stay, and the TV was flicked on, and I saw Roger Moore riding that little camera sphere from Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
And he's going along that amazing submarine hold inside the tanker, and he parks it at the door, and he's attached the detonator from a nuclear bomb to it. Drops down, detonates it, and blows a hole in the door. And I'm like,
wow,
what is this? I didn't care if we were on holiday. I can't even remember where we were. All I remember was I was watching The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
And it would be later on that I would find out, Roger Moore wasn't the only Bond. Everybody, like you said, generational. Everyone was like, Sean Connery's better than Roger Moore. And I was like, who the hell's Sean Connery?
Yeah.
And I'd go back and watch it. And for me, it's just Bond. He's a character. Yes, you've got Sean Connery, Roger Moore, George Lazenby, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig. But it's James Bond. He jet sets around the world, gets into numerous situations. And the stories themselves, I only realised recently, the whole of the Sean Connery-based movies are the same kind of as Daniel Craig's. They all revolve around Spectre. They all revolve around this evil group.
I'll say right now that I am a Sean Connery is the best Bond.
Okay.
Although Daniel Craig is... actually, I retract that. Sean Connery is the most original Bond. Sean Connery is closest to the ideal that Ian Fleming created. And Daniel Craig is the best Bond because it is a more advanced, modern rethinking, which is true to the original Bond.
Yes, but then going from them to Roger Moore,
he is completely different.
His boss of the week type of boss.
Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton.
It's brilliant.
Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton both suffer from the same fact that they appear like a really soft Bond.
They don't need to fight. Now, see, people get their views diluted by Daniel Craig's Bond running around doing all of his combat. Now, I love that kind of stuff.
And a lot of his own stunts.
Credit and that stuff is sick.
And he looks fit.
But it needed that. And you are right. After Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton, people did lose interest. At the time,
Pierce Brosnan started doing some badass action again in Goldeneye.
I couldn't tell people I was a Bond fan.
And Bond was back.
Goldeneye came back and everyone was like, this looks amazing.
This is awesome.
It's always looked amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's always looked good. I love License to Kill with Timothy Dalton. I mean, you say you can't fight.
No.
You say you can't fight.
Having Sean Bean
he doesn't need to
fight.
He's 006, yeah?
No, that's Sean Bean. That's
Goldeneye. That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
License to Kill.
License to Kill was the last Timothy Dalton.
With Timothy Dalton, and that had Robert Zavi as the bad guy and Benicio del Toro in. That movie's awesome. He drives a semi-truck on 2 wheels. Or 6, depending on how But anyway,
it's all set pieces and stunts again.
That's what Bond is.
They've gone away from the comedic style of Roger Moore, and they've gone back to more serious Bond. But Timothy Dalton, he does his best to act Bond, but he can't do the action scenes. So the way that Bond is portrayed is set up. The whole nature of the film is much more like set piecey, set up sequences. Do you know what I mean?
He doesn't need to fight all the time.
Much more editing.
Bond can shoot his way out of a scene. We've seen
heavily edited portrayal rather than
the Timothy Dalton stories. The films with him in just were not compelling enough either. As well as trying to adjust to him as the new Bond. The actual stories he were in were not that interesting. When you had campy action, story that wasn't investing you into it, it just failed. It just flopped. It was just that's just not a good first outing. And if your first outing doesn't hook people instantly, you forget about your sequels.
Yeah, George Lazenby is Bond, even though his Bond character has the most vital point of the Bond story, in which he gets married and his wife is killed.
Yeah. It's just, again, a very big departure, and again, such a left-wing or right-wing story that it was just like, this isn't Bond. This is a what
George
if.
Lazenby also, he went from Sean Connery, who had that sort of quite neutral accent, because he was obviously a Scottish man putting on a relatively posh Englishman's voice. But he came across as gruff. They got him. Yeah, that's it. They got him perfect because he had a rougher edge. You had a more working class, brought up edge than Roger Moore, who was obviously and George Lazenby, who were all really plummy accents. Whereas Sean Connery was a bit more closer to a sort of working class accent, and he had this very stern demeanour about him, and he had a really ruthless edge to him, and he understood that he there's a scene, I think it's in it's either I think it's in Thunderball, or it might be in Goldfinger, where somebody asks it. I think it's in Thunderball, where somebody asks him, are you a passionate man, Bond? And he said, I'm not really the kind of person you would call passionate.
Right.
And so Bond is like a really, he's like a pretty simple-minded kind of person. And Ian Fleming was trying to get that across, and he managed to craft Sean Connery exactly with that hard, ruthless, simple-minded edge. Whereas Roger Moore's always like quite ironic all the time.
It would have gotten
that's
very
what I
stale.
liked.
It would have got stale very easy if they carried on with the gruff-looking, violent Bond. It was a good idea for them to try something new with George Lazenby.
I suppose,
He wasn't accepted that well by the fans.
Sean Connery didn't want to do it anymore, so they had to find somebody.
He grew tired of being Bond because he said that the productions were getting bigger, the scripts becoming more weighted, and the action becoming more demanding in an effort to outdo themselves each time. And he said he was getting tired of the formula and tired of the workload that was involved in it, because he was getting, he was in his 40s, I think, when he stopped, and then when he came back, I think he was 52 in his final appearance as Bond, and he already said, enough is enough.
Well,
but he was also watching. He was also watching the series go in a direction that was not what he started. And he was...
Well, he said he hated Bond at one point. He was like, if I ever got to meet Bond, I'd probably fucking kill him.
Yeah, because it came, like you said, it comes across campy.
He was a prick. This is it. Sean Connery understood that Bond was a prick. And he played him like a prick. Like quite a hard-edged, horrible man. A very selfish man. And that is how Sean Connery played him, and that is what Ian Fleming's Bond is. For better or for worse, Ian Fleming was trying to portray the kind of mentality that was on at that high-level commando spy level. Do you know what I mean? Ian Fleming wasn't making a moral sort of judgment on it. He was just portraying the way he saw those people
was making a literal action
who did that kind of job. Do you know what I mean?
I think from my own experience in film and knowing who I am as well and what I enjoy in film, I also, as a child, which has impacted my viewing of it now, but I found the Sean Connery movies dull and boring because there was so much dialogue. Whereas when I was, 10, 11, 12, watching the Roger Moore films, it was one extreme stunt, chase, quip, and dolly on the side, and it just kept going. It was like, ooh, I wonder who the bad guy is in this one. And of course, they have all become parodies now. I mean, I think it's, From Russia with Love, where you see the heaviest influence in something like Austin Powers, in like all of the characters there are directly influenced from the early Bond villains before they become the tropes in the later Bonds to the tropes in parodies of Bond films.
Yeah.
But I don't, still today, like the Ocean's films, I don't enjoy those. I don't find them exciting. I like parodies though when they're done well, and so if the Roger Moore films are parodies of Bond, I enjoy them because they are a little bit wackier. They're not taking itself too seriously.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, still keeping you on that adrenaline roller coaster ride of silliness. It's like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah. Like we said, though, it's a product of its time. For me, the Sean Connery movies, especially with, like I said, the Spectre organization, is the classic old red versus blue. Russians versus Americans, and Bond's caught up in the middle, beating the bad guys. Going into Roger Moore, and like we already agreed, it's campy and witty, but action after action, and that's because
some of the best stunts in film.
Because he's fighting normal kind of people. He's fighting kind of drug dealers and guys who've just got lots of money.
The thing is, Bond. Hold
on. They tried to carry that on into Timothy Dalton's Bond movies, but trying to bring back a darker edge. And it's already been noted that Timothy Dalton's pretty serious, but can't fight.
He also doesn't stand. He doesn't have the stature of like a high class man.
The
you know
rebirth
what I mean?
with Pierce Brosnan, though. As it comes more for me, as it comes up to more present day, and they start to do more, they have the budget to pull off the action set pieces that we know and love with Bond. Yeah. Connected well with the upgrades in technology inside and outside of the film franchise.
Yeah, well,
the acceptance as well as female actresses in the Bond series are not just the Dolly Bird anymore.
The feminism side on Bond is a whole subject on itself.
Well, okay, let's get on to that subject.
What you can say about this early 60s Bonds, the Sean Connery Bonds,
yes,
is they were coming out every year. The size and scale of Bond as it goes on and begins to get popular, and the amount of budget that's in there, and how they have to keep, you can see they keep trying to one up themselves on each season, each
bigger
series
cars,
that comes
bigger
out.
explosions, beautiful.
Yeah, that's it. There's
women.
not really any gadgets in Doctor No. Then you go from Russia to With Love.
The briefcase.
And they bring out the briefcase.
Yeah,
and they have, sort of they change scenes a few more times, and they have the train scene and all that sort of stuff.
The hat in Goldfinger. I mean, that is amazing.
And the beginnings of the sort of Bond taking out his enemy, you know what I mean, and having a standoff where Bond's sort of captured. Bond always gets captured at some point, and so he has that dialogue with the baddie.
Yeah,
where the baddie
I got to tell you my whole plan.
Those are always my favourite scenes.
Explains his motive. All of that sort of starts is entered in through the first 3 to 4 Bonds. And then after that, it just starts scaling up. They start getting made every 2 years, and they have more and more stunts and more action-based stuff.
Yeah, but we've noticed that because the audience base are starting to notice it's the same old thing. Especially, like we said, Sean Connery ones are really, really good, but they are the same old thing. By the end, Sean Connery's got the girl and beating the bad guy. So then bringing in Roger Moore and camping it up a little bit makes the bad guys seem a bit more threatening. They've got these huge, elaborate plans, but Bond's not fighting 20 guys or having a mass like in You Only Live Twice. One of the most amazing set pieces is the inside of that volcano, and Bond is there with the Japanese army, I think it is, Japanese secret army, and they're fighting Blofeld's army. Huge, massive scale.
It's so unbelievable. It's so silly.
From Goldfinger on, though, don't they? Every time they had in Goldfinger, they had the big old army versus army at the end. Yeah. Big scrap off, and Bond's in the middle of it, and there's a chase off between him and the bad guy, and Bond either offs the bad guy.
You had the underwater battle sequence with the scuba divers.
That's it. Every time after that, they think of different scenarios in which to have the big army battle off.
Where can the enemy base be? Where can we go next? Let's go to the moon. Let's space.
Exactly.
They exhausted every possible location.
In the volcano,
and
the moon, space station.
And then he switched to Roger Moore.
Sharks
and Roger Moore
come
just
up
faces.
again and again and again. The bad guys.
Of course, they've got to be.
The bad guys kill people with
feed them to the sharks.
No.
At least 3 or 4 times.
I saw when I watched Moonraker. Okay, the main bad guy Drax in Moonraker. He's got guard dogs. Cannot go wrong with a pair of guard dogs.
And there's just a sad song scene where she's running slowly through the forest, and the dogs jump on her, and they don't get the camera out of the way fast enough, and you can see her grab onto the dog and pull the dog down with her like that, and it goes out of the way, and the dog stops and looks back at the camera like that, and they're clearly not interested in savaging her at all.
Yeah, but you're oh my god!
You see enough of the scene to see that they've just jumped sort of towards her, and she's gone down on the floor there. So it looks so fake and so cheesy. It's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
All of the violence in Bond just looks really dated all the way up through the 70s. It's only when you get to Pierce Brosnan that the fighting in Bond looks even slightly viable.
The shooting battles in Brosnan's are a lot better and bigger scale.
I was so skeptical after loving all the Roger Moore Bonds and then giving up on the Timothy Dalton ones, and then hearing about Pierce Brosnan. I was I remember him from Lawnmower Man. He's going to be James Bond.
Nice.
It's okay. I really don't think this is going to be very good.
Oh.
And believe it or not, it's probably my favourite Bond film. Despite him not being my favourite Bond, but it's only because Roger Moore's done more Bonds that I've enjoyed overall, compared to this being the only Pierce Brosnan film I actually like. And he did well, because his first film, as I said, was great and almost the best Bond film in my opinion. So of course he would have a good slew of films to follow it up with.
Do you think Goldeneye is the best one for you?
Goldeneye is my favourite Bond. If anyone ever says, Gary, you have to watch a Bond film,
it's Goldeneye.
I'll pick Goldeneye.
Right.
Because it has a lot of my favourite parts in it. And again, Pierce Brosnan proved me wrong. He carried himself as Bond, and he had the movement and the look, and the way it was filmed just captured that essence for me of Bond. And he also moved
sequences,
like
the
Bond.
smooth talking.
I love in interviews, with Ian Fleming and the makers of like Dr. No.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why Sean Connery was cast was not because of the way he talked. And as a matter of fact, they didn't actually like the physical look of him or the voice.
Yeah, yeah.
But he moved like a cat. And just the way he moved around was what made them go, that's Bond. The way you move.
Yeah.
Just the way he moved. And the way...
Action. That's what I mean. They cast Bond with action in mind when they put Pierce Brosnan in there. And he might be a little bit like send up Pierce Brosnan doing his grunting. When he's doing his in pain moments.
Yeah.
Well,
it gave a hard edge to Bond. Bond was getting beaten up. You were like wincing.
This is what I want to talk about, is how that is for me the biggest transformation that happened with Bond. Is that throughout all the early Bond films, I never once believed Bond was in trouble.
Yeah.
When Pierce Brosnan played Bond, he was a badass, but then all of a sudden he was vulnerable.
Yes.
And it was like, holy shit. And I say they did the exact same thing in Casino Royale, where you believed Daniel Craig's Bond was going to die.
Yeah.
When he was in the car and he had to inject himself with the serum, and then he was trying to push the button, and it wasn't working, and then they're like... And then he realizes the cable wasn't connected and passes out. You're like, he's fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like, there's no coming back. And so it's something that has only happened in the later Bond films, which I think is relevant for the audience today actually buying it, to believe in a character, to be invested in a character that is human after all, and not the superhero he's been made out to be with Roger Moore films and the latter Pierce Brosnan films.
Yeah, I mean, making it, like you said, more life-threatening for him. Well, from the beginning of Goldeneye, where he's, all those Russian soldiers stood there and he stood behind gas tanks and they're going to kill him. Yeah. And he manages to sneak out. All the way up to, say, Daniel Craig in Skyfall, having to go back to his family home, which is something else I'll get into in a minute. All of it was life-threatening. But I think also another big transition was in Goldeneye, when they brought Judi Dench in as M.
Yes.
She did that. They did that for Pierce Brosnan, didn't they? Was she M for Timothy Dalton? No, it wasn't.
No, she wasn't.
As soon as Pierce Brosnan came in Goldeneye, they had M.
And she's been a consistency.
So because she was able to carry through from Pierce to
now with Daniel Craig.
What she's made it also feel really authentic Bond.
Yes.
Because that's a big part of it, is that the background characters have always remained the same, even when Bond has changed.
Yeah.
And then, like, at least there's been a long period of Bond when those characters have changed.
Yeah, and it worked as well for the time to say, look, we understand that the original Bonds, as good as they were just sleeping their way through missions. Both Sean Connery and Roger Moore just shagged their way through. And we loved that. We did, but
it was the escapism. It was, like I said, it was fantasy. It was the fantasy.
In the 90s, you really had to change that look on women. And putting Judi Dench as M, I was just like, she is going to have him in place. Yeah. She's the den mother. And all the way through Pierce Brosnan's and into Daniel Craig's
that's Bond, it. They Bond kind series. Of added that to Bond.
She was telling him. She was saying, "You're too
is that mother-like figure, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're too much. Why did you have to destroy a whole building? All you had to do was just get a briefcase."
Yeah, instead of it being
you've just watched the whole action sequence, knowing.
Just being irresponsible, Bond, blah 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 blah, telling him off about wasting his technology.
But she understands as well.
Role gives him a bit more of a motivation behind why he's so loyal.
She understands as well why he has to do it and what he has to go through.
So I've got a question I want to ask both of you as well. Now, negating the story arc in one of the later Bond films, which we are then told that James Bond is
Daniel Craig.
James Bond. Yeah. That's his actual name. Whereas over all this time, a lot of James Bond fans have kind of gone, maybe it's just the alias and a code name, yeah. So that all of these are different people with other real identities that have been hired to be 007 throughout the years, and it's the same universe.
Yeah, it's code name.
So, but in the later Bond films, it's like, well, is the Daniel Craig movies prequels, sequels? Is this alternate? Is it part of the same universe? Is it the Bond that will go through the other movies, how does this work now?
For me, the Daniel Craig movies are just part of the series, same as Sean Connery and Roger Moore. If you look at the M character mainly, the same M actor, I can't remember his name at the moment, played M all the way through.
You mean Q?
No. You had Q, who was in charge of the gadgets, and M was in charge of the mission.
Like 15 Bonds or something.
Yeah, so he was a cement character, and he never questioned it.
But also, whenever Q was in there as well. He was
in there as well.
He was
like
all the way longest. He
was all the way up to Pierce Brosnan.
But Moneypenny as well. So the three of them, Moneypenny, M, and Q, they
consistent throughout.
They were consistent. They never once questioned the change of Bond. They just went, "It's a Bond. It's a code name."
Moneypenny set up her replacement similar to how Q set up his replacement.
With John Cleese, which was a beautiful transition. It was awesome to watch on screen after following him for so long.
Yeah. When he disappears down that elevator.
Yeah, that's so
you never
sad.
Can tell.
My heart
He was and that's one of the reasons again why I love the Roger Moore run so much, because he felt like the heart and soul of the Bond films with all the gadgets.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he was he said in interviews that the scripts for his scenes arrived that day while he was on set. And so he said it was always impossible to perform his scenes because Roger Moore would always fidget with the gadgets and always put him off, so he always end up forgetting his lines. But he was just the heart and soul of some of the Bond scenes.
He had some of the most amazing, introduction for just gadgets, and you had to praise the actor for being able to, remember all of those things that you've got to say about certain gadgets, like the exploding pen from Goldeneye, the laser watch, the invisible car, every time he came up with a car, and he's just got a reply about all the missiles, the onboard guns, the smoke, the mines.
Yeah,
it's your mind boggles, and Bond's just stood there like, cool, where's the keys? And you know that it's going to explode at some point. That car's going to get messed up.
Bond, Bond captures the zeitgeist of its time. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so good.
Yeah.
Is because it's always endeavoured to capture the zeitgeist of the time. It's changed so many different ways.
And it's tried to also be ahead of it. It's tried to be that imaginative to...
Bond has always remained the same, but the environment and the situations that he's found himself in have always been a reflection of what's been in the main consciousness of the Western media, I suppose, at the time. So during the Cold War, the Russians
and Spectre, America.
I mean, they very cleverly always allure to alternative masterminds. It's not the actual nations themselves, but it's alternative masterminds who are nefariously trying to cause wars between the countries.
Blofeld was fully in charge
Spectre,
of it. Blofeld had control. His plan was, if we keep war going, money is the byproduct, and that's the other beautiful thing about Bond is that.
Or there's Moonraker, where they're like, oh yeah, we're just gonna
wipe out the Earth,
and stay up here, and then come back down and recolonize with a super race. It's always like a nefarious bad guy who's got some plan for basically cleansing the Earth or taking over the Earth or starting some
for
kind
$100 million.
And Spectre is always this shadowy figure, even all the way through. So that's the way they sort of get around the politics. Really, is they always have Bond have a kind of politically neutral enemy or relatively political neutral.
It's always something that threatens the crown.
Through the Cold War, though, portray the Russians as quite they
were bad guys.
Cold hard.
They were the bad guys. Up until the 80s, where Bond started his relations with a few of the Russian agents, and eased things through.
But
it was
do
fine.
Kind of steer from any heavy. They do especially through the Roger Moore times. They're quite. Oh yeah, we're best buds with the CIA type thing, and he's always,
Yeah.
he spends quite a lot of time. You got the Aston Martin, and then you got the Mustang, which sort of pops up quite a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got so many different ways: the cars, the women, the style of clothing they're all wearing.
I want to bring up Felix
the
Leiter.
subject matter.
Felix Leiter, the CIA agent. He is exactly the same like with Bond. It's a code name for me. Because the guy playing Felix Leiter has changed multiple times through the series of films.
Yeah.
I always have enjoyed that little interaction. Somebody on the same level as Bond, and he knows what Bond has to go through to complete his mission. He's gonna kill everybody and blow things up. And every now and again he'll help out, or every now, like in I think it's Quantum of Solace. They have that really cool talk in the bar. Daniel Craig and the guy playing Felix Leiter. He says, how long have we got? 20 seconds. And then it mixes that in with the SWAT team all getting into position, and then this hard talking conversation that gets you on edge. You're just like, okay, Bond has to go. Bond, we need to go. Bond, let's go. And he's off, and brilliant scene.
Well, I'm going to bring us to our favourites. I want to talk about our favourite Bond villains, cars, gadgets.
Yeah, I've got my notes, Gary.
I think we'll start with favourite Bond villains. Okay, and I've kind of jotted down my 3 favourites, and I'll save my absolute favourite to last. But the first one that came to mind was Knick Knack.
He's a henchman.
He's a henchman. I know, but he's memorable. Just because of the way he brought some of that comedy to the role as well.
Yeah.
And do you remember who he was the henchman for?
He was the henchman for Scaramanga.
Exactly, who is my second favourite villain. And he was played fantastically by Christopher Lee, who was, the man with the golden gun. He's just...
See, they didn't need to fight. That's what we're saying. They didn't need to fight.
It was a face-off of their charisma and just the presence of Lee. There was just
like sequence, with the golden gun. That gun is a staple now.
Exactly. I want the golden gun. So he was my second favourite, but it should now come as no surprise. My number 1 favourite is Jaws. He's not the best villain. He's a henchman, but he's iconic. He was so good. They brought him back for another film.
Which one do you prefer him in? Because I love The Spy Who Loved Me, and I watched Moonraker.
Moonraker's the one they brought him back for.
For some reason, him turning good
yes.
always does stick with me.
Yeah, because he gets his own love interest as well.
Yeah, I see the blonde girl with the glasses.
And it's like, oh wow. And that was the first time I'd ever seen a villain turn into a good guy, ever.
Yeah.
So that was like,
I
like that.
It would carry on into Mayday and A View to a Kill as well.
Yeah.
I suppose that does work. But yeah, it always niggles with me. Him turning good.
So yeah, there you go. That was my favourite villain is Jaws.
Oh
Ian,
man,
your favourite villain?
There are so many. Like I said, I've got my notes here. There's so many. I mean, Max Zorin.
Yeah.
Or Christopher Walken. I want to say
Christopher Walken is getting good.
He's not. I'll get to my favourite. Max Zorin, Christopher Walken. He's insane throughout the whole movie, and it just plays so well. Christopher Walken plays it so well. The character works amazingly. I always love, it's not Zoidberg, it's Stromberg, Carl Stromberg from The Spy Who Loved Me. He's just this rich millionaire who's built this underwater city. He's got his own underwater city.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't need for anything else.
He's just ready to just, take over the world. And even though his death sequence is a bit lame, everything with Roger Moore leading up to that, I'm just like, I'm with more on this.
I'm going for I'm with Bond. Quickly, I haven't wrote it down for lamest, but yeah, there is that. One of the lamest death scenes is when he's in the tank with the guy and he gives him the pill, he then floats up to
Yaphet Kotto as Mr. Big.
Yeah, oh my god.
Come on, man.
Lamest
that is amazing.
In Yaphet James Bond
face,
film.
And he just expands and explodes. I mean, Baron Samedi in Live and Let Die.
Yeah, very memorable.
Amazing character. You say you want to go on about lamest.
Lamest death, but we're still doing your favourite villain.
I know.
I just decided to throw lamest death in there.
I just remembered Blofeld being picked up by the helicopter and dropped down the chimney.
That was the first time I ever saw James Bond. That was my introduction to James Bond.
No.
Was that introduction? Yes, that was the very first thing I ever saw.
That is just such a bad.
That was me going. That's James Bond.
If I'm going to go with favourite villain, I will go with. I've got to find the actress's name.
Jeff, your favourite?
Yeah,
I will go with...
Sorry, Ian's got like 80 pages here.
I will give you my top 3 quite easily.
Yeah, okay.
So, in order, I think it's in order. Well, the first 2 are Goldfinger and Oddjob.
Okay, yeah.
I really loved Oddjob. It's the first time as well in Bond, because they let you know in Bond that they're the baddies.
Yeah.
Because they kill the women. And it's the first time you see a Bond baddie kill a woman. Oddjob takes his hat and ends up like... You know, actually, it's funny because his hat can take stone clean in half, like a stone statue's
so
you
get to see the effect it can have, so your imagination does the rest.
And then he hits it and she just lays on the floor, but there's no like blood or redness or anything, so but you know that Oddjob, he is a nutcase. You know what I mean? Because he killed a woman. Now Bond is like quite harsh, and later on you find out that Bond will be prepared to kill a woman rather than be killed by a woman.
Yeah,
you know, he's quite serious, but Bond's relationship with women, like, you get to see that Bond always actually like tries to kind of save the woman and look after the woman.
Yeah,
he might let her get her comeuppance quite happily if she's really evil, but you know, by and large, you know, he tries to save the woman. But you know that that guy is a proper baddie because he just murked that woman mercilessly. The Oddjob is like, he's like the baddie that steps it up a level.
I could
and
be
then
wrong.
With Goldfinger with him, he's quite a comical and interesting character, and he has he pulls that immortal line. No, Mr. Bond, I want you to die. And I love that line.
Yeah. I could be wrong.
Did you
this,
expect
but I'm
me to
pretty
talk?
sure.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
I'm pretty sure the actor who played Oddjob, I think he went on to play Sub-Zero in The Running Man. I could be wrong, but I have to check that.
Yeah.
My favourite all-time Bond villain is Electra King, played by Sophie Marceau in The Word Is Not Enough.
Yeah, interesting
I
choice.
recently watched The Word Is Not Enough for the podcast, and I was sat there and I've seen that film gazillion times. You know, I have seen all the films and all of the villains were amazing, and I'm sat there and it only dawned on me this time when I watched it. She slaps Bond in a torture chair. She wraps him up and she basically explains the plan. And I went, she's the bad guy. She's the main villain. Mm-hmm. I always expected to be Robert Carlyle playing Renard in that movie because he plays an amazing part. You know, he's got the bullet in the brain. He's losing all sense of touch.
I was going to say, he's the one who just feels no pain, isn't he?
He feels no pain.
It's like, how do you stop him? Yeah,
but he's got quite a hard edge to him when he wants to be a baddie as well. He does
ever since Trainspotting, it's like you do not want to unhinge this person.
No, yes. I mean, if you've ever seen 28 Weeks Later,
when he's feral. Yeah, Jesus.
But like I said,
at the end of the day, you know, he was coming in the path of Sean Bean, who, as 006, gone bad, defected, was a badass baddie.
Yes.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was badass.
I like
and
Sean,
he has a great death
it's and another one of the reasons why I love Goldeneye is because the bad guy was very good.
Exactly, and Famke Janssen playing Xenia Top. Like I said, once again, turning point in the Bond series was having obviously, we'd already had it with Mayday, Grace Jones playing a female henchwoman, but she did kind of sleep with Bond and get with him, and was friendly towards the end. Xenia Top was a badass all the way through.
I'm going to get to her in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Electra King, she's my favourite villain.
And my third is the guy that plays Hannibal. What's his name?
Oh, I can never remember this guy's name.
Hannibal Lecter.
From the Hannibal TV show. He was in Star Wars.
Oh, in Casino Royale, he played Le Chief.
Yeah, what's his name?
Those are the games. There's so much paper. Living Daylight. I'm not looking for
that guy.
He's such an incredible actor.
Casino Royale, Le Chief, Mads Mikkelsen.
That's the one.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes. It's Dutch, isn't it? I think his name.
Yeah, he was playing Le Chief in
he is really, really good. as the baddie in that, and there's that like immortal scene which always makes me wince when I think about it now, where he gets Bond naked in the chair,
and whacks his bollocks,
with his balls dangling down. He's got that big like lump of rope which he just swings.
Man,
Dad, why did you do that,
Dad? That's a devastating one.
Everyone at home right now is squirming in their seat too, just remembering it.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to move on to our favourite gadgets.
Gadgets.
I've kind of got two, and they pretty much revolve around lasers. You know, growing up, I love laser beams.
Yeah.
And so my first favourite gadget was the Omega Seamaster laser watch. You know, a laser on your watch.
Is that Roger Moore's laser watch, or is that Pierce Brosnan's?
No, it was Roger Moore's, I think. It was... it was... It was Goldeneye. It was Goldeneye.
Pierce Brosnan used it in the train.
Goldeneye, that's right. Yeah. And my other is the laser Polaroid. It's the camera, when you take the picture, it just fires a freaking laser beam. That was from License to Kill.
Nice.
So, any gadget that fires... I know, but any gadget that fires laser beams is freaking awesome.
Oh, those guns in Moonraker, yeah.
So, gadgets with lasers.
Okay, so are we...
I think it was with the Bond films, with those, watch lasers, that freaked everyone out when people started to get laser pens, and they thought they would burn people because they'd seen Bond films with lasers.
Them on the skin for ages,
and they're like, it doesn't burn.
People were all freaked out though when lasers were about, weren't they? Like, they had to include lasers in all through the 70s and that Bond.
Absolutely, it was because of Star Wars and the sci-fi launch.
It was a reality, but when fucking Tomorrow's World had a laser come onto their show in the
Tomorrow's
late 70s,
World. Let's go back a bit.
Late 70s, early 80s. Like they had to have cordoned off an area. It was all it was treated like radioactive material. And now you can get them in your wallet and just put it in your watch.
Play in front of your cat.
Exactly. It's a great cat toy. That's about as useful as they are now.
Are we doing cars separately? Or
yes, but they are not a gadget. Even though cars can be gadgets. But actual gizmo.
An actual gizmo. I always really loved Q's gizmos in the background. I mean, I love
the ones that he doesn't always use.
The ones he doesn't always use. It's
like the pocket flamethrower, was it?
The pocket flamethrower. You got that. You've got the phone booth. I think that explodes with the balloon inside and squashes the guy. There's that one, but I think it's the Spy Who Loved Me, and he walks in and there's a guy who's got a tray. And he just puts it on this magnet, conveyor belt, and it flies and chops a guy's head off.
That's right, a mannequin's head off. There are always these crash test dummies getting destroyed.
How are you going to get this equipment into
the field?
Room,
It's just testing.
We're just testing it, Bond. Oh yeah, here's an exploding pen. I always love that pen sequence in Goldeneye where you got Boris, and he's flicking the pen around his fingers and he's clicking it, and you're just looking at it.
Is it going to blow up? Is it going to blow up?
You count along with it because you're like, does he miss one? Does he? How long does it last for? And then he clicks it, and he starts wagging it, and you're like, throw the pen! Throw it, it's gonna explode!
Great gadget.
Yeah,
great
I love that
gadget.
gadget.
Jeff, your favourite gadgets come to mind?
My favourite gadgets, I think, I've always really loved, you always loved the guns coming out of the cars and stuff like that, and all the random shit that would come out the back.
But cars are separate.
Stuff like that. What, they're separate to gadgets?
They're separate to gadgets.
The favourite cars is its own entity in Bond, so it's still gadgets.
There's the cars that you get to use, and then there's the gadgets on the cars, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, if you haven't gone out to just yet, I'll have to say that my favourite car is the Lotus.
Oh, the submarine
which is
car.
A gadget, I know, because it's a freaking submarine.
Yeah.
I just remembered.
My favourite gadget, though, was easily the rebreather. Do you remember the rebreather?
Yes, the rebreather in
It would just be like a little mouth-sized thing you could have on. Man, that's my most wanted. I wish that was real. Do you know what I mean?
It's amazing. I used to see that thing used to pop up in video games after that. And it's like, that's how you get to breathe underwater. You've just got a respirator. It's like a little tiny one.
Futuristic spy tool. That would be so badass.
What about the jetpack in Thunderball?
Yeah,
the jetpack.
The only thing is that jetpack looks so damn ropey. You're just like, I'd kill myself in that thing. So
ridiculous.
So next one is his favourite cars, and as I've said, it's the Lotus.
The Lotus.
Yeah, the Spy Who Loved Me. It was, it was the awesome chase sequence, the way it flies off, goes in the water, his line, I hope you can swim. Yeah. And it's when he just drives out, the way that they covered the effect of it literally being towed out of the water. just all of the people reacting to it. Exactly, yeah, and him just dropping the fish out the side casually. Just that car was amazing. It's not the best looking car, but it's
Connery's cars were nice, but they just kept adding machine guns and
It's an Aston Martin.
The Aston Martin's a beautiful car.
And
but
it
you
was
can
Aston
imagine
Martin
trying to want to
time,
drive that into a river and be like, we want to show it underwater. You can't do that.
Well,
the invisible car in
the cars
Dawn of the Day, just to add a cloaking device to it, you're just like, okay.
Yeah, that's what my favourite Bond cars are the Aston Martins because they're so classically English.
Totally, it's an
and
absolute
I think
staple.
it has to be an absolutely British company that is when they did BMWs with Pierce Brosnan, I wasn't a fan of that time. I don't like the cars through Pierce Brosnan's time. The Lotus is acceptable because it was of the time.
Yeah.
It's
you wouldn't see a Lotus nowadays.
Very much styling of that time. It was like
an Aston Martin from that era is vintage now, and you're like classic.
It's got to be a British make. It's got to be.
I agree, but it's like I wanted. It's the most memorable vehicle to me. I look at those other, the classics. I'm just like, they're all good.
I love that one in The World Is Not Enough where he hasn't used it in the whole film. He's been given it by Q. He's just kind of driven it around. Takes it to the pier with Zurkowski, and I think he fires a missile from it, and it gets sawed in half.
That's the BMW one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does.
You're just like,
oh
my god, Bond, that car was amazing. It's just been sawed in half.
Yeah, that was quite a cool scene. I mean, I suppose in that sense, like it would have been nicer to see that has happened to a BMW than like a brand new Aston Martin.
Yeah,
but I mean,
saying that though, the crash in Casino Royale. I mean, the notes behind that. I think it's like they used how many cameras and
just to capture it so that they didn't have to ruin too many of these cars.
Yeah, oh my god,
it was like a proper big smash up. They made it roll brilliantly.
Yeah,
that looked badass. And the modern day Aston Martins, like Daniel Craig's Aston Martins that he gets to drive, they are very, very nice. And Sean Connery's Aston Martins. Again, that old style Aston Martin, it does look very nice. And you can imagine of its time, it was like the top notch sort of cruise car.
Bond always gets the best.
Always,
Well, the thing is, the BMW and the Lotus, they I don't feel like they were. Do you know what I mean? Like the Lotus was very cool because it was a gadget car. There's a total submarine car, which is what carried that. But what cars did Roger Moore drive? Because I think he had a Mustang.
He drove a Mustang in Live and Let Die, I believe it was, and then and The Man with Golden Gun. He drove the Lotus, which was in Spider Love Me. He also drove a gondola in Moonraker, which turned into a hovercraft. So he just used everything at his advantage.
He starts to get in things like helicopters, planes. He starts to drive all sorts of
Sean Connery had Little Nelly. Little Nelly, the helicopter from You Only Live Twice. That's amazing. Tell the Q to send Little Nelly.
Alright, we're going to move on now to favourite Bond girl.
Oh, I've got my list here, Gary.
We're short on time, Ian, so I'm going to press you for your one.
One.
Just give it to me in your one Bond girl. Alright, I'm going to come back to you, Jeff.
Come back to me.
Alright, I'm going to start. Mine, you already mentioned it earlier, and it's Svenka Jansen. As Onatopp.
She's a villain.
I don't care. She's a Bond girl.
I was going to say Onatopp, but I was saying
she's a Bond villain.
She is a Bond girl. She is a henchman. I don't care. She is the eye candy, but at the same time, she is a badass. And that was the first time I'd seen her since Deep Rising.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, I want to see more of this actress. And it's the fact that it was the fact that she was a strong, representation of a woman in Bond films as well.
Yeah.
Which didn't see that much of, and it was a part of the reboot in Goldeneye to do it. And it was the fact that the way that she offed people, the way that she got extreme sexual gratification from squeezing people between her legs to orgasm as they died. And it was just crazy. And I also love the way that she dies.
Yes.
The way that she ends up being squished to death, and Bond literally just quips that she always did enjoy a good squeeze.
Yeah.
Or she always did it. Yeah. So, yeah, for me, if I think of a Bond girl, she is the first one that comes to mind. Again, another reason why Goldeneye is a highly rated Bond for me. Yeah.
So see, for me, there are so many. I mean, was it Ursula Andress?
Yep.
The main girl stepping out of the beach. You know, Halle Berry performing.
Halle Berry is shit.
Yes.
Don't ever say Halle Berry.
Halle Berry was fun for the same time. At the same time as Michelle Yeoh was good at the same time. And Denise Richards. Oh yes, motherfucker, I said it. Denise Richards is Christmas Jones. Oh, I don't know any doctor jokes. It's like, boom, Bond, you're getting her laid. You're gonna lay her. You're gonna lay her. Like I said, Electra King as well was amazing. Tiffany Case from Diamonds Are Forever. She was absolutely beautiful.
It's safe to say I'm gonna
go with I'm gonna say two names. Right. First one, Jane Seymour from Live and Let Die.
Nice.
Thought she was lovely as the virginal psychic before Bond got older. And Mayday.
Yeah, really?
Mayday from A View to a Kill. Because for me, Grace Jones has always scared me. If you've ever seen Vamp, the vampire movie from the 80s with her in, she is absolutely terrifying, especially, and Conan the Destroyer. Mm. When she was in A View to a Kill, and she turned out to be the hero kind of at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, done. Yeah. You've done it, Bond.
Well, I think my two favourite Bond girls are two of the earliest Bond girls, funnily enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they capture... feminism does feature quite heavily in Bond, believe it or not.
Yeah. In the later ones,
I know.
definitely. In the later ones.
Probably the weakest time for the feminism throughout Bonds is through the 80s, I think.
Really?
Yeah, for through the 60s and through the 70s, there is a strong feminist theme in Bond. And I think they did
become damsel in distresses.
I think they capture the balance most nuanced and interestingly as Daniela Bianchi as Tatiana Romanova. Even though the Russia with Love is perhaps a little bit dull to watch, her performance is actually really, really good. And she makes a very good Bond girl with quite some interesting nuance to her, where she is quite a strong character, actually. And then also after her, I like Pussy Galore.
Honor Blackman as Pussy Galore.
Honor Blackman does really well as Pussy Galore. I think she captures... She's much more like a hard-edged villain. She's like almost like a villain. She's like very grey, morally grey.
Yeah.
And I think she performs that really well in this.
I can't remember.
She's very strong-willed,
doesn't she?
Very independent.
She gets away at the end. Goldfinger gets blown out of the plane.
Yeah, she stitches up Goldfinger by switching the gas. Yeah. But it's meant to kill all the people in Gold Knocks, all the soldiers. She switches it to knock them out for just a few minutes. So they all walk into Gold Knocks, and then all of a sudden all the soldiers stand back up and they're all surrounded in Gold Knocks with all the soldiers.
But she jumps out of the plane at the end though, doesn't she?
She gets away, she sorts out her getaway. Yeah. She's really smart. She's like one of the smartest characters in there. And she's trying to play all sides for her own benefit, so she gets away with the cash. And she plays Bond as well.
Yeah.
But also, Bond, she kind of does actually like Bond, and Bond says, I appealed to her maternal instincts or whatever. So they kind of give her a bit more of a kind of full character.
That's true, yeah.
And she plays it really well. At first, you almost think maybe she's like a lesbian or something, because she's like, I'm immune to your charm, Bond. You know?
Yeah, she's unavailable to him.
That way. But they do sleep together, but she plays against him as well.
In fact, a lot of the earlier Bond girls are... The agency is a big feature of their characters and their interaction with Bond. They want Bond. Bond agents. Is like a very desirable alpha male, and they want a piece of Bond. And he's actually fairly dispassionate, but he's just one of those men that because he's so alpha, women throw themselves at him.
It's the situations that they get into,
because he's astonishingly good looking as well.
If you look at the jobs they do, they're getting into gunfights every 10 minutes, and it just so happens that this guy who you've just been sent to work with has saved your life on numerous occasions. You know, now, I don't know what it's like to be in that situation, but if Bond saved me, I'd probably be like, I'll sleep with you.
Yeah, but it's not always like that. Like, quite often, Bond is saved by the Bond girl. Do you know what I mean? There's quite a few occasions.
Well, yeah, he gets outnumbered.
There's a really funny quip where I think Bond's about to get shot, and this woman comes up through the bottom of the boat. One of his
Thunderball,
Thunderball, and she shoots him through the back, and she's like, I'm really glad to see him dead. And he's like, you're glad to see him.
Yeah, Sean Connery, Thunderball, yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, Bond gets into sticky situations because of women. Some women in Bond
will also get him out of it.
Are good enough. They are forthright enough and sexually attractive enough to control Bond and make him forget himself for a moment and put him into a position of weakness. Like, the flip side of Bond's weakness being a very good-looking woman is that gives those women a position of strength over Bond, and they are very aware of that. And obviously, and then the new later films, M becomes a woman, and they give a maternal sort of role, and that's a maternal figure to Bond to be his kind of one of his big motivations.
Yeah, so, be a bit more respectful. Yeah,
the feminine principle and the consideration of the feminine and masculine principle in Bond. There's a lot of thought and a lot of depth into it, and I think that
there's been many studies into it as well. It's a huge topic.
There's one of my criticisms of the sort of 80s and late 70s Bonds is it begins to lose sight of that, and it does become more about just being sexy and having sex scenes.
But you had strong characters as well. I mean, all the way through The Spy Who Loved Me, he's being played off against by a female Russian agent.
Yeah.
And yes, she does towards the end become the damsel in distress. Mm-hmm. But I didn't ever, not realise that was going to happen because I'd already been through the Sean Connery Bond movies where he gets with like with Domino in Thunderball, he gets in a situation and the girl saves him. Mm. Some more of them become a lot worse damsels in distress. Jane Seymour in Live and Let Die, she is definitely Rapunzel. And he's the knight in shining armour coming across to save her. Mm. Then you get to Moonraker with the American CIA agent who saves his life and is commanding the spaceship at the end of that. So I've always stood there, and when people said, Bond's just, machoism, he goes around sleeping with all the women. In later years, I'm like, he gets saved a lot by women. Bond is a very, very lucky guy. Like...
Well, yeah.
Very lucky guy. And that is established through all the Bonds throughout all the years, including George Lazenby and including Timothy Dalton, because without them you wouldn't have the negative appeal of Bond. We have our favourites. We have our Sean Connerys. We have our Roger Moores. We have our Daniel Craigs and our Pierce Brosnans.
And we're going to have many more to come, I can see down the line as well.
Question before we finish, right? How would you feel, because there have been rumours, how would you feel with Idris Elba as the new Bond?
I don't have too much of an issue with it. To be honest, my infatuation with Bond petered out with Pierce Brosnan, and I had no real interest in the Daniel Craig Bond films, and I only enjoyed one of the four of them.
Which one?
Skyfall. Yeah, I believe it. I really didn't like Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace. I thought they were okay. They were entertaining, but
Skyfall's again, the worst story ever.
They went back to the type of Bond films that I just kind of didn't enjoy that much. So, I've kind of over time I might come back and re-enjoy these films. But I'm I don't care who takes Bond next because I'm not probably going to rush out to see it like I have not rushed out to see the... I'll eventually watch it.
You'll eventually watch it. I would totally suggest watching Casino Royale and Quantum Solace because they work well as a pack. Skyfall with the whole twist at the end that James Bond is James Bond is like, no. Just a big no.
I have issues with that too.
Big no.
But
same with Spectre with the whole Blofeld
and Spectre I haven't seen
friends with Bond. I'm like, nah, don't do that.
I get the sense in Spectre that Daniel Craig's heart's not quite as in it.
Yeah, he already was reluctant to come back, and he already kept saying no more, which is why he's now taking really diverse roles to remove the image of Bond from the public's mind.
Typecast,
so he does not be typecast.
You've got to have somebody whose heart's in it. I think you've got to have somebody who really wants to play that role, and they've got to have a certain something about them. They've got to be able to portray that certain something. They've got to be able to get Bond.
On top of that, the story has to work. The villain has to be threatening. I don't know if Idris Elba can get Bond. That's the thing. Would I like to see a black Bond? I am completely ambivalent about whether or not there's a black Bond. It's a code
name. But if they can get a black man who can play Bond and do Bond as well as either Sean Connery or Daniel Craig,
to be smooth.
I mean, it would have to be more like a Daniel Craig figure now. And if they can capture a depth of Bond, I mean, I don't mind if they have a twist and a nuance, but there are certain key things about Bond that have run all the way through about the character of Bond, which is part of Ian Fleming's original vision.
Yeah.
I mean, there are deviances away from that, but
the main core
if they can capture the core, the essence of Bond, the spirit
the cars, and the big action sequences.
But they're kind of expected in a Bond film. They're going to be there.
That's the core.
It's the balance of it all.
Whoever is playing Bond has to walk in on that set piece and be able to pull off all that so well. You sit back and go, I don't care who Bond is. He's just gone in there and killed 30 guys with his laser watch.
The action sequences don't need to be big and bombastic. They just need to be the actor needs to be involved in them. They need to be exciting. Personal one-on-one man fighting each other. You know, that sort of thing. And you need to have a clear kind of like emotional underpinning to Bond. And you have to have a big understanding of Bond's limitations as well, I think, when you're playing Bond.
Show his vulnerabilities as well. He's not a superhuman. He's not a superhero.
Yeah.
He is a guy.
There'll always be a Bond
job.
for our time.
Bond isn't a superhero. He is a spy.
What is it that Q always says? You're Bond fans, right? Yeah. What is it that Q has always tried to teach Bond? 2 things he's always tried to teach him.
Go on, Ian.
Not to be frivolous with his equipment.
Always have an escape plan.
Yeah.
And never let them see you bleed.
Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this part of the podcast. I know we could easily keep talking about James Bond for another hour and more, and I'm sure we will continue to talk about Bond in the future. But until now, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with part 3, answering your questions.
Woohoo!
Welcome back to part 3 of the podcast, where we're going to be answering your questions.
I love this part.
This is always the favourite part. This is always the favourite part. Love your questions, guys. Always great questions. And first question comes in from Matthias.
Hey, Matthias.
Who has a bit of a statement to say first, and he also wants to congratulate us on reaching more than 8,000 subscribers.
Yes.
And growing.
Yes.
It's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
He says he still thinks that a straw poll would be a good idea. Just select like 5 movies you want to do from the list. And this is something we talked about in the last podcast. Yeah. And since then, me and Ian have agreed that it is actually a good idea once we get a small break from our Patreon requests.
Yeah.
Because
that's the main thing at the moment.
all we're doing right now is doing Patreon reviews, which is awesome because, as I said before, all that money right now is going towards buying us new equipment. Right now we're building a new PC for editing, and the rest of the money will then go to a new camera, new microphone, new lighting, and everything else. We might even get some makeup for Ian. I don't know.
I need some makeup. Yeah, make me more beautiful.
So yes, we're definitely you will see a poll come up, and it will be like 5 movies, and it will be to either on Facebook or on Twitter, and we'll just see, hey, which out of these 5 do you want us to do, and that review will pop up more than some of the others.
Yeah.
But he also has an actual question for us, and it is my question for the next podcast: what are some of your favourite comedy movies that you haven't reviewed yet? Now, I'm just going to say right off the bat, you might have seen it in some of the reviews I've done, like Stripes and Harvey and some of the other comedies we've done that I just don't recommend them because I am
dead inside.
I am not dead inside, but I am a son of a bitch to please when it comes to comedy. I am a comedy snob.
Yeah, you love Adam Sandler.
What? Why would you even say that? You're just trying to get a rise out of me. So Ian, just shut up while I talk about some actually...
Steve Buscemi, don't you? You love Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi's funny, yeah, but I don't...
Yeah, when he turns up in Adam Sandler movies, he's brilliant. What are your favourites?
So, my favourites that we haven't reviewed, because... the first one I'm going to say is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh.
We've been asked to review it lots of times. And I can just tell you, that film doesn't need to be reviewed. It is fucking awesome. And awesome. So funny. Yeah. That it even stands up on repeat viewings. And it's really good if you get to watch the film with people that have never seen it before as well. Because you get to relive that twist.
Is it Tucker, the guy with the scythe? Or is that Dale?
I'm not sure. It doesn't matter which one's which.
The larger guy, the guy who played Sock from Reaper. Oh my god, he is absolutely amazing.
Next to Alan Tudyk as well.
And next to Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
Is his name Alan Tudyk?
Yeah.
Or oh my god.
Tudyk. I don't know how you pronounce it, but yeah, it's...
He is brilliant as well. The whole premise of the film is absolutely brilliant, and yeah, it's an amazing comedy.
Yeah, that we haven't reviewed yet, and I guess...
Have you reviewed South Park the movie?
No, that's a good one.
Not.
Yeah.
Have you reviewed Team America?
We have not done
Team America either. That's another good one. Yeah. Any
Basketball and
Matt Stone.
We haven't done yet.
Yeah.
My other one that I had to really, really think.
Yeah.
And it was Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh.
That film never stops making me laugh.
That film
no matter when I watch it, I start laughing. You know, surprisingly, the first thing that came to my head when the question was comedy was Evil Dead 2. And I was like, oh no, we have reviewed that.
The Meaning of Life.
I'm not a big fan of Meaning of Life or
it's
Life of Brian. I'd rather watch their Monty Python and the Flying Circus show than some of their other films. But Holy Grail just tickled me so bad.
Yeah.
I'll still laugh hysterically watching it today.
It breaks the fourth wall at the end of it. You know,
when the police turn up and arrest them all and the film ends. It's like,
you're just like, what the fuck?
The first time that happened, I thought there was like a dodgy recording, like my tape was broken. I was like, I need to get another copy of this film to see what happens at the end. And it was like, oh, that was the end. So stupid.
See, for me, there are so many comedies, and I know this is going to make you hurt inside.
I'm going to block my ears.
I would love to sit down and just do a row of Adam Sandler movies.
Oh, fuck.
No. You know,
why?
Just put names in a hat. Because by the end of it, we'd be dying. You know, at the same time...
No, I'd be dying to begin with.
You know, comedies, I always find Be Kind Rewind is absolutely funny as well.
Meh. I thought it was a good concept.
It's a dark comedy. You know, it's one of those films that I just giggle all the way through. I think I have a lot. Evil Ed. You remember Evil Ed? Where the editor is just editing horror movies and he starts to go insane? Yeah. That movie's absolutely stupid.
How many movies has Adam Sandler made?
Oh, Christ. Too many.
15?
Well, there's got to be more than that.
More than that. Yeah. But, you know...
He pumps them out.
Little Nicky... You know,
Ian, what's that? Right, Jeff. What's some of your favourite comedies?
His is fucking dark. His is probably Schindler's List.
What?
Fucking, The Killing Field.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoy. I like the Monty Python's Meaning of Life. I thought that was really good. I don't really go to movies for comedies. I find most Hollywood comedies are quite wide of the mark.
Are you dead inside as well?
Well, do you know what?
It's always comedy in a different genre that I like.
Yeah, I think I have the most fun with cartoons and Disney films and things like that when it comes for comedy. Like WALL-E. I love WALL-E. Yeah. I love WALL-E. WALL-E makes me laugh, and it actually really entertains me. Also, Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch.
I love Lilo and Stitch, and I think
I'm quite surprised. I'm quite surprised.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun watching stuff like that. I love things like Looney Tunes as well, like quite old school slapstick. See, I like that kind of stuff, like where it's proper slapstick. Or then I would go to much more sort of like dry American humour. I quite enjoy dark humour.
Yeah, of course.
So like
Synecdoche, New York.
The zombie film with Sean.
Resident Evil.
No.
28 Days Later.
No,
World War
the
Z.
comedy one.
World War Z.
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
That's
Shaun
it.
of
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead. I go ahead, Shaun. I guess couldn't think Shaun of the Dead. So Shaun of the Dead. That sort of comedy, like dark comedies, or a bit. I'm
What do
very
you
like.
think?
It's always comedy within another genre. That works for me.
Like as far as movies go, but I think like comedy for me, like I'm much more kind of like about stand up or stuff that's a bit more sort of like.
What do you think
set
of
pieces,
Tropic
Black
Thunder?
Mirror, that sort of thing.
I enjoyed Tropic Thunder. I enjoyed
Thunder.
moments of it, and there were also moments that I didn't like.
Yeah, I know, but that moment when Steve Coogan steps on the landmine. I really don't like Steve Coogan. I've tried to get behind him in comedy.
Not a fan either.
It doesn't work. And when he steps on the landmine and explodes, I'm like, oh, it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
And the whole dance sequence from Tom Cruise at the end.
Yeah.
I think he's stuck being Alan Partridge, isn't he, Steve Coogan? Really?
Oh, we're
It's
going to have to
his
do Alan
defining
Partridge
role.
movie.
Oh, please no.
Alpha Papa
Alpha
was
Papa.
alright. It was
We've got to
fairly
do Alpha
funny.
Papa.
No, we don't.
There's some
Put
funny
it on the poll.
moments.
The poll will agree with me. We're not doing Alan Partridge. All right, next question.
Yeah.
Is from Aaron J.
Hey, Aaron.
And he says, here's my question for your next podcast. If there was one item you could have from a film or a video game and actually have it work in real life, so not just the prop, but the actual physical working item, what would it be?
Kelly from Weird Science.
No, I eliminated, it has to be an item.
Yeah,
She's
an
a
item.
character.
No, she's an item.
Because otherwise you'd be like, I'll have a Terminator. But I was like, no, they're not
that's
items. It's not an item.
Robocop's gun.
Hoverboard from Back to the Future.
Hoverboard.
Nice.
The hoverboard is
See,
my most wanted gadget.
Robocop's gun.
My first two responses that came to mind was Portal gun from Portal, and then I went to the magic carpet.
Franchise.
I want Aladdin's magic carpet, like the ultimate get-around vehicle that can just go anywhere.
I mean, how expansive can you be with this? Can you be like, I want Deus Ex's nanobots to enhance all my features and turn me into
that's-
a
It's not
superman?
really an
technology.
item. I guess my ultimate item is a Final Fantasy VII Odin summon materia. I could summon fucking Odin
Materia,
whenever
we're
I
going there
wanted.
now.
Well, it's an item from
It's a
a video
materia,
game. I was like,
isn't it?
if I could have one material, just one,
One
what would it
materia.
be? And I was like, shall I have Bahamut? Shall I have fucking Hades?
Well, if we're going that way, I'll have a TV screen with invincibility on, and when I jump on it, I'll become invincible.
What?
It's like Sonic the
It's like Sonic the Hedgehog item. But it's only limited invincibility and the TV's smashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Oh man, the materia is really good though. I mean, if you could have any
Yeah, but you can only have one. I was like, Knights of the Round! Fuck it!
you're
I'll have
just
to summon the Knights of
I'm
the
having a
Round.
really bad day. Knights of the Round.
Exactly, I was like, what else is there?
Oh, if we go that way,
item.
I'll have the T-virus then. I'll be like, come on.
Radioactive
Gonna start that
spider.
zombie apocalypse after all.
Yeah, I'll be like, fuck you guys, I'm going home. Zombie apocalypse.
Just get a radioactive spider.
I guess
It becomes
it
Spider-Man.
becomes Spider-Man. Yeah,
Or
yeah.
what was the machine that turned Dr. Manhattan into like an all-powerful being?
Oh, that was that energy. Yeah,
But it's not really an item, is it? The spider is not really an item.
Limit, you know.
Yeah.
I guess another one I had was Excalibur. Like the actual,
The sword of
yeah,
power.
but exactly.
Oh,
if the sword of
amazing,
power was
yeah.
real, could you imagine if I just went, "Hey, look," I went up to Buckingham Palace and went, "Screw you! I've just pulled the sword from the stone. It pronounces me King of England." Could you imagine what would happen?
They'd have to bow, man.
They'd have to bow to me
They'd have to bow.
and become the King of England.
You know, how do you know he's the king? Well, it's got fire coming out at the end, you know. And he's got this wizard with him. Have you ever seen a wizard? You know?
Fountain of Youth, can I have that?
You could take the Holy Grail if you
Oh,
wanted.
Yeah, I'll take the
Grail.
Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
So I'll be young forever.
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I did consider the Holy Grail, and I was like, Holy Grail or summoning fucking Odin? So I just want Odin.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, was it Mjolnir? Mjolnir, the fucking
The
Thor's
hammer. Yeah, Thor's hammer.
Thor's
but would you be able to
hammer.
pick it up?
Oh, yeah, you'd have to be wary to pick it up.
Exactly, so you could have it and it would work, but then would you be worried enough to pick it up?
Yeah.
You know, other answers that I first thought about, I was like, I'd like a Lancer from Gears of War, you know, chainsaw shotgun. And I was like, maybe what do I use it on? I don't have any use it, really.
Yeah,
I think any gun is boring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I mean, guns
I don't
we
know,
have
the
in
smart
real
gun,
life.
yeah.
The guns we have in real life are pretty awesome anyway.
But that's it.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you go with the BFG, you know.
Yeah, I was like, but I wouldn't even be able to pick the fucking thing up.
Yeah,
It would just be too
you
heavy.
would just blow yourself up with it. You know
Yeah.
you would.
Yeah. Okay, so next question comes in from Matt Midgley.
Hey, Matt.
Who says, fantastic channel, guys. Really pleased your subscriber numbers are growing. Well deserved.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank
Matt.
you very much.
His question for the podcast is, if you could have been on the set of any movie, what would it have been? And my answers jumped out immediately.
Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct would have been an awesome one. No, what? No, that's the wrong answer. My first answer was Alien 3.
Okay.
I would have loved to have been on set
and
taken all the producers outside and chucked them under a bus so that Fincher could have made the Alien 3 he needed to be. But then after that, I was like, but you know what? I don't really want to rewrite that history because I'm quite happy with Alien 3 after all these years. I want to be on the set of Alien fucking Covenant so that I could take Ridley Scott outside and shoot him.
Hang on, see, changing something is part of it. It's not just like a case of going to check out what it'd be like to be on that location.
But that's what I then started to think of.
Yeah,
it was like if I couldn't change anything, I just had to be there. I would not want to be there to witness the bastardization of Alien. So my answer did change. And it changed to, I want to be on the set of Evil Dead. Could you imagine being there with Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert going through the fucking years of hell? Making that film would be awesome. And then my second choice was Dawn of the Dead. I'd love to be in that every night with George A. Romero and the production team working on that film.
What about
but
Stanley Kubrick's The Shining being in the hotel?
What about Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, The Black Mass?
You know, that would be torture. Like, there's all these naked people pretending to have orgy, and I'm like, this is not real. This is the set.
The set of Society.
Oh, God. That would be awesome as well.
Surely it's got to be the set of the original Alien when they go down and they get into the ship with all the eggs laid out. That set was huge. It was epic. Yeah. It looked amazing.
Oh, what about the Predator 2
designed by Geiger as well. Any set designed by Geiger, that would be immense.
Terminator 2, the desert sequence. You know, you're told you're a soldier, you have to run in that direction. It'd be cool. There'll be things exploding around you.
It'd be cool. That what's the bit where he walks out after he's been like liquid metal and he comes out of the big crash with the lorries? It'd be amazing to see that.
Terminator 2.
Be on the set in Terminator 2 where they have that lorry crash. And they have him walk out.
So many beautiful sets.
Jaws. When the Jaws comes out.
Oh yeah, when Jaws first part, just being on set for the number of locations.
No, that would be depressing because it would be like, no, Bruce ain't working. Bruce ain't working. Yeah, it'd just be a constant string of depression. Yeah. Okay, so next question comes from Grandmaster Gav86.
Hey, Gav86.
Who says, as a non-comic book fan, and I mean this sincerely, but at what point can we expect the superhero film run to stop? I don't watch them, but I'm burnt out from the trailers alone.
Well, so, not for a very long time.
Well, I don't know. I thought it would have come sooner, but it just seems to have expanded against my theory of it coming to an end soon.
Marvel's got like a full-on another 10-year plan at
least. Marvel's going to own it for the next 10 years.
And there's loads of releases coming out. They are pumping them out.
They are pumping them out right now, so I don't see it ending just yet, but box office returns are dropping off for a number of the Marvel projects. However, it is counterbalanced by their mega hits, which recoup enough money to cover any losses from smaller projects. Like Ant-Man was they lost millions on that film.
Really?
Yeah, millions. It only made like 36 out of its 100 million budget.
But people are going to the cinema a lot less, and they're buying things to watch either through streaming or on Blu-ray, etc., for their home cinema.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it is Blu-ray sales, DVD sales, and they will drip feed those sales out through retail a lot, over the course.
Yeah, that's why they've also, Marvel have clocked in on getting their TV shows out on things like Netflix and Amazon.
Yeah, that's it. Like even
they're hitting multiple mediums at the same time.
Even their flops, quote unquote, aren't really flops because it's all adding to the size of the universe, and the collectors are getting all of it. Their regular fans getting all of it, even though they may not be able to afford to just go to the cinema.
It's the mass appeal right now that these things are having outside of its origins from comic books and comic book fans going to see the films. General audiences that have never read a comic in their life are seeing these films.
Yeah.
But will that trend end? And Spielberg predicted 2 years ago that it will end pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because he said he was there when he saw the Western die out. And then he saw the surgence of, different genres that just take over. Like, we had, before the superhero trend, we had a massive slew of vampire movies.
That is true.
As a trend. Sci-fi takes over at certain points.
Yeah, we have a certain segment. And yes, it is true. The superhero movies will die at some point. But and then it will re-emerge again when they realise, actually we can do this, this and this and make this a little bit better in the film franchise.
Yeah.
I
don't think it's going to die out.
Horror has taken a massive hit because it's far too predictable.
I think the
actions begin to die out as well.
I think it will hit a critical point pretty soon because we are already seeing failed launches of universes and franchises. For instance, Universal just promised the Dark Universe.
Yeah.
The Mummy has just failed fantastically at the box office.
Yeah.
Like, Tom Cruise, one of the big stars of Hollywood, cannot pull in an audience now. And so their first film out of the gate has just failed. Yeah. And they're like, we've still got 12 more films coming. Like, Dark Universe, everyone.
Make them, just keep
but it's failed. They're not making any money. And if they continue to make all these movies and they don't make any money, that is a huge chunk out of Universal that they might not be able to recover from because the budgets are spiraling out of control. And it only will take a few flops to kill an entire film company because the budgets are going so high.
It's happened before. And
DC and Universal are fighting each other so hard right now that us as consumers are getting bombarded with trailers and films that when we get too much of it, when there's 15 or plus mutant superhero TV shows running at any given time from multiple networks with multiple different actors. The moment Batman ended, they rebranded it. Spider-Man is going through multiple changes right now. Sony are about to launch their own Spider-Man universe outside of Marvel without Spider-Man. There are so many universes and TV studios and companies going, it's this universe, it's this universe. It's going to be too much all over the place, and audiences are going to get sick and tired of the same formula, the same generic bad guy. It will run its course.
But also, you have to remember that the system has changed. Like gaming, for instance, the games that have their licenses will be making far more than the films ever will. The merchandise that they sell,
I was gonna say
that is
keeping the brand
really
alive.
The films are really only kind of a focal point leader to selling all the other kind of stuff that comes along with it, and that's where the big money is. So I think they, as long as they've got the right kind of deals for all the rest of the system that is supported by the movies, that's why they're going so big and going so much on the expansion of the universe, etc. Because all these different characters result in more things to merchandise, and it's the big collectors, the passionate ones that spend the most money with them, that take their wages every month and bung that with them.
They'll buy it for
they're the ones that they're focusing on, and they're the ones that they're trying to expand the universe for. So I think I understand what they're trying to do, and the way that things are going in the in the movie making industry is that there are people sort of trying to corner particular markets of the movie industry. And like you say, it's DC and it's Universal, and they're going at
Marvel,
each other, trying to Marvel, trying to,
and Universal now in the and Sony is stepping in, so they're all competing.
They're all trying to corner sort of a section in the market here, really, because there's so much money to be made. And obviously James Bond, huge franchise, Harry Potter, huge franchise. Any of these
Jurassic Park still going,
sizable franchises, they're going to keep trying to, get as much out of them as they can, especially if it's been geared up from the beginning to be a continuous thing.
So there are multiple franchises, but superhero in general, it just seems to be
it will slowly die off, and we'll remember the good. We'll remember the good ones, like we said.
I don't think it's going to be slowly because we are in the biggest influx ever.
Yeah, and then it will come back when the next
I believe it will
genre
calm
has
down.
died off.
I think the big problem is there isn't any really properly good X-Men movies at the moment. They need to get some really good.
I don't know.
High
Logan
quality-
was so damn good. that
I
it-
haven't
Logan
seen
was
X.
good.
I haven't
Broke-
seen Logan
Deadpool
actually,
2
so
is supposed
hopefully
to be
Logan's
absolutely
yeah,
amazing.
Deadpool was also very, very good.
Well, Deadpool is Marvel's.
Well, it's actually 20th Century
Marvel's
Fox.
gamble, isn't it?
No,
really?
it's 20th Century Fox because not
It's Marvel license. Yeah.
It's Marvel owns the comic book, but they don't own the film license.
Right, yeah, but that's a gamble, which is working really well with that Marvel license.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, it's his own little thing, and it's quite good because they can do whatever they want with that, and it doesn't have to cross into the universe. Are they crossing Deadpool
No.
into the universe?
No, because
He's
it's
always gonna
different
stay
rights.
separate,
Yeah,
always
until the
fourth
rights
wall
fall
breaking.
back to whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's been some argument over whether or not Spider-Man's coming back into the universe.
Well, he was loaned, wasn't he? And then he's
Yeah, Sony loaned them to Marvel for so many films.
There is another
Yeah.
Spider-Man coming out though, isn't
Yeah,
there?
it's
Yes.
Spider-Man Homecoming. If the film companies
This is the problem. If they keep rebooting
They
stuff
have
too
to.
quickly,
That's the
They
problem.
have to.
That's
It's
when
going to
people get
happen
fatigued
because
out.
actors will keep backing out of roles.
Yeah.
they
And we
have to
can't keep
they have to
rebooting.
reboot it to hold the license as long as the film
we don't need another
It's the
Spider-Man
fact
origin
that the
story.
reboot time now is instant. As soon as one director or actor is out,
Yeah.
auditions are taking place the same day
Yeah.
for the next person. There's
But as long
This
as
is where-
Marvel starts recouping all of its franchises, it can then decide, you know what, we're going to make some more.
Yeah, well, this is it.
Or we're just gonna do this
Marvel
thing on
is
its
the
own.
smart mover here, I say, because Marvel is taking control over all the franchises that it can. Obviously, it's not got Spider-Man in control of Spider-Man. It's not got control of Deadpool, but everything else,
all the X-Men,
yeah,
the Fantastic Four,
all the X-Men,
or
yeah.
big, huge parts of the Marvel
Yeah.
comic
What-
book universe.
Yeah, so what it has got control of, it's bringing it all together in a large, one sort of cross pollinating universe, and then they bring it all together with the Avengers, and they have different superheroes featuring in the other ones, and it all becomes so much more easy to market that whole one universe and make quite a lot of money out of all of that, because you can keep adding in new characters and keep like moving the scenario on across multiple different media platforms. And that's how they're making all their money. If you do lose on the movie, it doesn't matter that much because you're just still supporting the overall ecosystem that you're creating, the universe you're creating. So Marvel's doing it because DC's are so fragmented. It's like they roll the dice every time they bring out a film.
They're not
whether or it's gonna
consistent
be
yet.
a hit or a miss. Whereas the faithful Marvel fans keep coming back every time to watch the next Marvel installment. They might go, "Oh, it wasn't as good as this," or "Oh, yeah, I really, really enjoyed that
But
one.
they'll
It was
still
great."
go.
And they'll have a debate about it. But that's fine as long as they'll keep coming back to see what the next one's like.
So long as the quality is there in terms of their characters and the storytelling, and so long as the superhero movies continue to evolve along with the times as well, they'll be able to find a way to stay relevant and interesting.
Unless they tell
I
a
think
past story like they did with First Class and post it in the 60s.
Yeah.
I think they are doing that. You know, like they've got so much material to go from.
Yeah.
And there's so many cool superhero scenarios. They've just got to go outside the Hollywood bubble and just go for the more risky stuff that's been put down in comic. And I think they are ballsing up to do that, Marvel are.
Yeah.
Especially with like the Civil War that they had. You know, that was cool. Having superhero fight against superhero and it all being sort of like, actually quite a difficult moral quandary. It's that sort of thing that you would get. It's actually quite interesting, you know, where civilization and societies will actually collide and fracture over different opinions on things.
Yeah.
And to actually then watch superheroes have a big old fight about it and a throwdown about it. It was a great idea.
Yep.
So, yeah, I you know, they are being creative and they are being imaginative. So, and Ant-Man was... You know, they keep chucking in the odds like out there superheroes, so they have sort of
Guardians,
like tongue-in-cheek comic relief type thing.
Yeah,
and they do manage to like get the balance between action and comedy.
Yeah,
so they're doing really well. They've got. I mean, the thing is, if it gets too formulaic, that's when people will start to get a bit like.
Well, they are already in a way formulaic.
Yeah.
It's just them keeping it interesting now. Yeah. All right, next question is from DMC Campbell.
Hey, Campbell.
Who says, "Hey, Gary and Ian, would you guys ever review the 80s Italian English horror films Demons from 1985 and Demons 2 from 1986,
Demons.
both directed by Lamberto Bava? I know I came across these films when I was looking into Dario Argento movies.
Yeah.
And I got Demons and Demons 2, and it's definitely, they're not on the immediate review list.
No, I want to.
But it's been a long time
Italian
since I've watched
horror.
them. I remember them being trapped in a cinema.
They're
Or
trapped
in
in
a
the cinema in
theatre.
the first one. The girl gets cut on the hand, and she becomes a demon. She starts infecting everybody, and it gets really apocalyptic towards the end.
It gets really apocalyptic and really gory, if I remember as
then
well.
the
And it's like,
second
wow.
one- the second one's a birthday party, which ends up being the same kind of thing,
Yeah.
but I can't remember how it ends.
No, it's been too long since I've seen it. Yeah, I don't remember too much of the
The
second
gore
one.
factor is an 11.
Yeah. That's exactly. So that's why it's kind of, it's like, it's definitely something we will look at some point.
I'll just go on
I
record
think.
and say, for me, it's kind of vomit-inducing to a point.
Yeah. But
They're on the list.
we'll put them on the list.
Yeah.
Next question's from Henry Kwan.
Hey, Henry Kwan.
Have you ever watched certain TV shows that you thought completely surpassed movies in terms of presentation, storytelling, and character development? I'm referring to shows made with high production value such as Game of Thrones, Westworld, True Detective, and other HBO type shows. Or do you think that there are some qualities of movies that will always trump any TV show no matter how much it might try to imitate a movie?
That's really easy for me.
Yeah?
I got an instant answer to that.
Yeah.
The Wire and Game of Thrones, two of the best things on telly that you could ever put on your screen.
Hawaii Five-O.
Better than all films, better than all other things on television.
Sopranos.
The
Spartacus.
The Wire
Battlestar Galactica.
and Game of Thrones. That's it.
I think that today there are truly, truly amazing TV shows, better now than we've ever had it in terms of television production. And that was because there was, there's been lots of shifts in terms of cinemas and theatres being really popular.
Yeah.
And then not becoming so popular, either because of the films that were coming out or because of what was on TV. And now what is on TV is just as compelling on a weekly basis or on binge watching entire seasons.
Yeah.
Is now a good pastime. But I make the argument that there's a lot of TV that is great, that's still fine to like have a nap to, you know, to tune out of, walk halfway in through.
Yeah.
Whereas you just cannot do that with a film. A film
You
will
can do that with a film.
have a beginning,
I
middle,
do
and
that with a
end
film.
and entertain you for its specific amount of time, and is an investment in of itself, unlike TV, which demands a lot more time in order to tell its story. Granted, it can do a lot more with its characters, with the scenarios, and playing things out in more detail, because they don't have to rush to make it the 90 minutes or 180 minutes or up to the 3 hours that it might need to be.
Well,
you know?
Well, TV has always,
There are two
in
different
certain
art
places,
forms.
surpassed film. I mean, you look at Star Trek. You know, the original Star Trek TV series comes out, and it's so big, they decide to make films out of it. The films are so big, they decide to revisit the TV series, and so on and so forth, developing it over these course of time. TV shows nowadays have become more realistic and more attention grabbing than they always have been. But for me, I grew up watching a lot of TV.
Yeah.
You know, it was a case of go outside,
But
make friends.
growing up,
and
there was
everything.
TV
Or watch
actors
TV.
and there was film actors, and film actors would never be seen in TV.
Yes, but the budget,
That's not the case anymore.
The budget started to get bigger, and I remember Battlestar Galactica. Seeing Battlestar Galactica, the film, and then seeing the TV series being reprised by the same actors, and realizing years on that they made the pilot for cinema, released it, and then turned it into a TV series. It just developed from there, for me, the fact that actors could go back and forth, and a lot of
happened.
A lot of classical actors nowadays started in TV, started in theatre, and getting on stage, and my argument always comes to Coronation Street.
Well, that's soaps. And
Wait.
Soaps.
It's a 50-year 60-year-old TV series, 60-year-old TV series that has been running with different actors who have moved in and out and gone off. It's repetitive storytelling, yes, but at the same time keeping a realism there that over the years you would never have seen a TV series like Spartacus years ago.
You're touching on, for me,
but during the 90s you had a lot of difficult issues being shown up in these soap dramas, and especially in American soap dramas as well when they were telling their family stories, that TV started to get edgy.
Well, you were limited to so many channels. So
they had,
and those channels had a monopoly on what they were going to show.
They had to steal the attention.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays, obviously, we've got, like I said, we've got Netflix and Amazon trying to corner their market. On
Hulu,
Sky,
HBO, Stars,
HBO, you've got Sky Atlantic.
The amount of choice and quality, the competition for your attention and your time is now so much more. There's production, being able to make a piece of film now is so much more accessible to so many more people. There's a lot more out there that's competing for your time. So, you know, like, you can't really compare the soaps of old, but what you touch on with soaps, right, the underpinning of that, just continuous, we're just going to write for the sake of writing the next thing. We've got to just, like, keep writing that versus somebody who's got a story arc from beginning to end and writes that out as a piece of art / storytelling, right? That's really, for me, the two, like, it's because in film and television you have examples of greatness and examples of utter shite and blandness on either side.
Both of them,
So, I mean, yes, for me, definitely, that TV has the potential of exceeding film in terms of storytelling, because you can give a more complete picture of a story.
But to keep your attention for an hour and a half at home is difficult.
Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, so many people sit and binge watch a whole, like, 12 seasons, 1 hour. You know, it's like
that
12
is true,
hours.
But those are markers. You get a half-hour marker where you can pause and go, I'll choose then if I want to watch anymore. But when you're in a cinema, you cannot get up and go.
The ones that people consistently rate the highest are things like Game of Thrones, The Wire, Breaking Bad. Stories where the author is like one author, he's had the arc from beginning to end, he's writing it out from beginning to end. He knows what all the characters are doing.
Sopranos,
he's got the whole thing.
Galactica did the same thing.
And then you've got stuff like soap operas and Lost and Heroes, and, you know, like all these other, like, generic fucking Marvel Avengers, what is it?
Luke Cage and Iron Fist and
Daredevil.
No. Well, Daredevil's always
Jessica
written
Jones.
all right. There's loads of them coming out. Some of them are written much better than others, but they will all eventually, you will get like, Walking Dead, that's gone shit. You know, all of these ones where people are just like got a continuous narrative and they keep getting different writers and they got to keep trying to bring different and different scenarios.
It's the production value. You know, as long as the production value exceeds what a normal TV series would look like. Like you said, with Game of Thrones, the battle sequences, people go, oh my god, that's amazing, because it's on par with movies. You know?
Yes.
Well, as it's gone on, they've got bigger budgets.
Yeah, you know, things like The Wire, like you said, it's more of the acting and the talking between two people. Same with Breaking Bad. They don't need massive, huge set pieces. But what they do also need is, after an hour, they need you to stop and digest that. Where, like we said, with movies, they hit you so much at once. You have to go back and watch that film a second and third time just to get everything.
I'm just going to chuck this question at you then, Ian.
Yeah.
Is there at any point, I'm just going to say to you now, what would you rather watch?
Okay.
The Evil Dead trilogy?
Yeah.
Or Ash vs. Evil Dead? Seasons 1 and 2 as it is now.
I was getting to that TV
now, which
series,
one?
Actually.
What would you choose?
I would go with the original films.
You'd choose the original film. So you choose the film format over...
I would choose the film format mainly because Army of Darkness is absolutely fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I would have to go through all 3 films just to get to Army of Darkness. But the TV series is is really, really good. But like I said, it's because the production value
and a roast dinner, isn't it?
Like I said, they are two completely different formats and mediums for the different time of day or the different way you're feeling at the time.
The production value of the TV series is on par with the films with Ash vs Evil Dead.
Yeah.
But in 45-minute installments.
Well, the Ash vs Evil Dead is 20-minute installments. 20 minutes installments. I get to watch all that bit and go, yeah, that's just enough. Mm-hmm.
Where with the films, like I said, if I watch the first one, I've got to go through all three just to get to Army of Darkness, and that's like 4.5, 5 hours.
I would definitely say that the bar between film and TV is now firmly even. Like the scales can be balanced. You're still going to get shit films and shit TV.
Yeah.
But what you are getting now is superb TV, which never always used to be there.
Films are getting longer, aren't they? And I think that's probably as a response to TV.
I don't know. I think
2-hour movies, yeah. It used to be an hour and a half.
More than 2 hours now, and so a lot of them are coming up into like the 2-hour, 40, 3-hour sort of period.
Not always, but definitely,
not always. It's because more and more.
It's because the TV episodes cover like a whole hour segment now. But then when you remove the advert breaks that a lot of them do have, it shortens them down to about 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, like I said, brings it to when people binge watch. Because
it's mostly
they can knock out that for as long as they watch a series of films.
It's the ones that they want to do like trilogies of, That's the ones they tend to... You end up seeing get longer and longer. Like Matrix, the first one was like a good length. And then the second and the third ones were like really long, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, they felt really long.
Yeah.
Because they were so boring.
Yeah, but that's it. They end up getting longer and longer. Like the flipping Lord of the Rings, man.
Oh, God. Next question. Next question.
Sorry, Jeff. Nathaniel Warren. Have you ever...
Nathaniel Warren?
Yes.
Hey, Nathaniel.
Have you seen any Ralph Bakshi films? They are expressive and entertaining. I'm just discovering them, but I did watch Fire and Ice as a kid, which is brilliant fantasy fun.
We reviewed Wizards,
which
was absolutely amazing, and I've always been a fan of the Lord of the Rings films.
From 1978.
The animated movie. I grew up with that as a kid.
Yeah, there's a lot of people's first introduction to...
The introduction of the characters.
Lord of the Rings.
We just got into Lord of the Rings. The 1979 animated movie. But
I also remember Cool World from 1992 with Brad Pitt and Gabriel Byrne and Kim Basinger. Yeah, it was
that's a brilliant film too.
Yeah, but other than that, no, I'm definitely aware of Ralph Bakshi, and I've seen at least 3 of his films, reviewed one of them, and there are others on there that I would still like to get around to watching. He's sort of on my, I'm aware of you and I need to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah, H.D. Baird.
Hey, Baird.
With Alien Covenant having disappointed so many, discussions of the value of prequels has come up in conversation recently. The consensus seems to be that prequels never work and spoil existing stories. However, I would argue that Better Call Saul and Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy, maybe an unpopular opinion, show that they can work. How should prequels be made in your opinion, and what would an ideal Alien prequel be? Now, I'm going to say that I tried to think of good prequels and I struggled. Better Call Saul, I was again skeptic of. Blew my mind that a prequel could work as well as it does. And I racked my brain for any other good examples of a prequel. And I could only come up with recently The Rise of the Planet of the Apes from 2011. Yeah. Also, X-Men First Class from 2011, I thought was a worthy prequel. And then my brain went over to The Thing prequel, also from 2011. And then I was like, but actually, in hindsight, it's only it's a substandard prequel that only serves to remind people why John Carpenter's The Thing is that fucking good.
Yeah.
And then after that, there was nothing. Not a single other prequel. Now, some people would argue that Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is a great prequel, and I'm like, it's so. I mean, it takes place a year before Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's like, but does it? Did you even know that watching that film?
Too much set piece, aren't they?
It's exactly. It so doesn't matter which one came first.
Yeah, Temple of Temple of Doom is always a sequel to it.
Well, yeah, but it's a prequel. It's set a year before Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yes, and so it's highly regarded as one of the greatest prequels ever. I'm like, but that's stupid. That really doesn't make sense. So name another good prequel. Some people argue that Episode 3 Star Wars is a really good prequel, and I still think it's utter garbage.
I was going to go with the Star Wars movies. Actually,
it's not really good. It's
they're not good.
It's passable, but
there are some defenders for it.
It's better than Phantom Menace, which was obviously the prequel of all of them.
Anything that like fudged Jar Jar Binks out, so that automatically made it better. And the end fight was quite good, where it was between Obi-Wan and
the problem with
but I mean that's it. I mean that it was only that cool scene, really.
The problem with prequels.
What about Star Trek? Not Star Wars.
There's no prequels.
Well, it's sort of like.
No,
they did a prequel TV series.
No, they're in a different universe.
The new movies is not the new Star. It's not the Star Trek universe. It's just another timeline. So some people have listed them as prequels. I'm like, no, they're not. It's an alternate timeline.
Yeah,
that's not a prequel.
In a weird way, that's like saying Back to the Future 2 is a prequel to Back to the Future 1.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
He's doing the adventure.
Time travel doesn't.
As he's doing the other one.
There's time travel. It's not a prequel.
It's time
travel.
No, doesn't count.
I want to think horror movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the prequel, the story of how, he comes about was acceptable. Arlie Emery was good as the sheriff. And the fact that obviously, my argument always is with prequels is you've got an established.
The reason
film.
to do prequels is to tell story or to fill in mythology that wasn't there originally, or to add to it, attempt to.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that once you show it to the audience and the audience enjoy it, they immediately start making up their own ideas about how that character came into it.
Well, usually you don't have that you don't usually have that the prequel fills that in so that whatever you thought could have led to it is now cemented in stone. Case in point with Alien Covenant, it's now alters all the films that come after.
Yeah,
and that is the damaging part of it. Unless you do it really well, don't do it. And that's why I struggled on the latter part of his question to think of what would an ideal Alien prequel be. And for me, there isn't one. I tried to rack my brain. I was like, but as soon as you explain the space jockeys, the origin of the xenomorph, all of the mystery is gone. So don't do it. Prequels don't work. 1 in 1,000 prequels work.
It's the mystery behind it all.
Yeah.
When you have a prequel, it explains the mystery.
Yeah.
And you don't accept it. A good Alien prequel would be a film that isn't attached to the Nostromo.
Well, I said,
a completely different crew, go to a planet, find a creature.
He's just remaking, it's just retreading,
it wipes them out, but, you attempt to give...
It's almost like the Thing prequel, you already know that all these people are dead at the end.
Yes, but that is... But that's the acceptable thing about...
So what are you adding to this?
But that's the acceptable thing about the Thing, is that you want to know how those two guys got in the helicopter and started chasing the dog.
And now you know, and it's like, now I know.
And I enjoy that. I enjoy that because I know what I'm getting in with the Thing. I'm expecting an alien creature to start wiping people out. And the same with a xenomorph.
Yeah.
I expect the same thing with a xenomorph. If Shane Black's Predator is a prequel, I expect it from that as well.
I doubt it will be. I think it is an actual sequel to Predator.
Well,
so...
But you see what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying.
Well, next question is from Dominic Button.
Hey, Dominic.
And it's, do you guys like Grand Theft Auto?
Yes.
And if so, which one is your favourite? Mine is Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Yeah, everyone loves the 80s. Mine is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Most recent.
Never completed the story.
Did you ever play it more than 5 minutes? 12%.
I got 12% into the main story, but I spent about 2 years playing the online.
Yeah.
The thing about Grand Theft Auto 5 for me was the fact that they gave you an online character to make, and they gave you this open world to live in, and you were able to just do whatever you wanted to do. You could do the same thing in the story mode, but in the story mode you were, I say limited. I know you had 3 characters, but they were linear. They had a story mission you do. You had all this freedom. On the online basis, I could do whatever I wanted. And that's how I lived in the Grand Theft Auto world. I wish I'd played Vice City when I was back in the day, But I was massively into going into a hip hop gangster rap phase at that point. I was watching a lot of Menace to Society, and when San Andreas came out,
San Andreas
just I was just like, Vice City is tiny. I don't want to even go near it.
I've played all the Grand Theft Auto games, every one of them.
Yeah,
and my favourite is Grand Theft Auto 2. Top down.
Nice.
So much fun.
Yes, the different gangs.
Just getting in a car and running over all the joggers.
Yeah.
For the bonus points. It was simplistic. I enjoyed the 3D transfer when the whole game system changed.
Yeah.
And I played them all. I really hated 4. I gave up before 4 is the only Grand Theft Auto game that I gave up before even the halfway mark. I got tired of it. I enjoyed 5. I finished 5 in a couple of days. I blitzed it, loved it.
Yeah.
And then moved on, But
you are a bigger Red Dead Redemption fan.
Yes,
that's your
Red Dead
Grand Theft
Redemption
Auto
2
game.
can't come soon enough.
That's your Grand Theft Auto game.
Jeff, favourite Grand Theft?
The one I played the most of is 5, because I played online quite a lot. And there's a lot of game there, but I still haven't played any of the single player. I've got loads of single player stuff that I've got to sit through and get through at some point, which I will sit down and do. But Grand Theft Auto is one of that is right on there. Other than that, I mean, I can honestly hand on heart say I have had the most fun out of most sort of like memorable time in my life was the very first Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
And it was quite a very cool time in my life because it was an 18 rated game and I'd managed to get hold of it nefariously as a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old, something like that. Or I think it was like I was either between the ages of 14 and 16, maybe 15, and I was just like, I love this game.
You're playing something you probably shouldn't.
Such a class sense of humour. It was so the music in it was fantastic. It was just. Really, like I say, dark comedy is my
Running
thing.
people over was so much fun.
It's got dark comedy in at the absolute wazoo. Yeah,
I enjoyed evading the police in the first 2 much more than any of the others.
Garanga! That's when you like they're all like Harry Krishnas, aren't they?
Yeah, they were Harry Krishna. Yeah, big line of orange guys.
Run them all
the
over
joggers.
I think they're just like a line of religious people. They start running.
Well,
like, once you start running them over, you got to catch it. It was just like it was so.
That was fun.
It was so ballsy, you know, and so adult. And I think that's like inspiring at a time. Like you could see that games were going to be like really badass. Because I mean, after that, you had things like Kingpin and stuff like that. But Grand Theft Auto was the first to be proper like gangster. It's brilliant.
Next question's from Callum Sears.
Hey Callum.
Hey guys, after the recent loss of both Adam West and Roger Moore, do you have a favourite performance from both actors?
Adam West would have to be Batman the movie.
Yeah, same for me. I can't see him as anything other than...
Can't get rid of a Bond these days. And Roger Moore would be The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't choose him over any of the Bonds, just any of the Bonds. I can't. Sorry, I haven't got another favourite performance, and I never really saw him outside of Bond.
Yeah.
Other than in interviews and stuff, so no. Struggled to answer that one otherwise.
He was really good in Cannibal Run. He was good.
Yeah. Next question's from Alexander.
Hey, Alexander.
Are there any YouTube film review channels that you enjoy personally?
Off-the-shelf reviews.
You do you watch that channel? Do you?
Occasionally.
Yeah. Other than Red Letter Media, the other place that I like to go for, as he lists them as retrospective lookbacks, is Oliver Harper. He's been consistent. I've always gone back to his channel and either listened to his commentary tracks or had a look at his film reviews. He recently did one for Lady Hawk.
Yeah.
And I was like, we were going to review that years ago, and enjoyed his analysis of the film as well.
I flicked over, because obviously people were saying about Oliver Harper and all the trivia that he gives. So I had to flick over, and trivia is all good. If you want to listen to the ins and outs of a production of a film, then it's absolutely brilliant to go to. But emotionally...
Well, he does always. He does have his opinion at the beginning and at the end.
This is fucking awesome, you know.
He doesn't.
I sat last night and drank 6 beers and just fucking chilled the fuck out.
Yeah.
You know.
So the next part of Alex's question is, did you ever deny a Patreon request? Or are there any movies that you just wouldn't review on principle? When so, and what movies and why? We've never denied a Patreon request yet.
Yeah.
We've accepted the good and the bad.
You've definitely put your foot down over some things, Gary, haven't you?
Yes, he has. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Adam
you, Jack.
Sandler movies. You know, if you decide I'm going to sign up to Patreon and request fucking Adam Sandler's Little Nicky, you might get a response from me just going, no. No, I'm not even going to tell Ian this was your request.
Tell them what we are honest reviewers on a film, you know. Yeah. And this brings me back to Oliver Harper. I don't look up the trivia. You're the intelligence man. You find out all the ins and outs.
I look at trivia that I think's interesting, which then I would think our audience would find interesting.
Yeah, but I honestly tell the audience what I think of the film.
Yeah,
you know, because there's no point in me sugarcoating it. I'm sitting down and watching this film, and you want to know what it's like, so I'm going to tell you. If somebody came along with any film, I'd review it as long as it was worth the time that I would have to go into editing the film afterwards. A Serbian film and Irreversible.
Yeah, it'd be very tough films to do.
Two of the hardest films I'd have to go through. There's a long list
just
of hard films.
When we get these requests in, we have to spend a long time with that film. Not just watching it the once, but looking up the film, then talking about the film, and then editing that video.
Yeah.
You spend an intimate amount of time with that film, and by the time the review is up, you're it's almost cathartic in a way of just getting it out of your system entirely, in a way. Yeah. And it's such an experience that you're not just asking us to review the film. There's so much more that goes with it too.
You have to experience it. I remember.
I would be sick.
I remember, when we were asked to do Mysterious Skin.
Yeah.
And that film was emotional to get through when watching it, and then I had to sit through and localize the scenes to what I was saying to emphasize what I was feeling about the film at that time.
Yeah.
You know, that's almost as hard as when I have to sit through Tekken 2. Because when you give me a piece of shit film, I'm like, really? I'm going to hate
Well,
this.
You'll say as it is.
Yeah.
And next question's from Marcus Back.
Hey, Marcus.
Who says, considering Alex has stole his question, maybe I should just ask, what do you think about Red Letter Media? And my answer is very simple.
Yeah, you go
It's
ahead.
Very cool. Next question's from Jack Hawkins.
Hey, Jack.
Where do you think Terminator Genesis went so wrong? Now, for me, I thought about it for a little bit, and, you know, when I walked out the cinema, I was just like, I switched my brain off going in there. I've not been enthralled with a Terminator film since Terminator 2. With Terminator 3, I went to see it in the cinema, came out and went, you know, they turned it into a dumb action film. It's not worth thinking about anymore. Yeah. And I did the same thing with Genesis. I was like, yeah, it's cool to see Arnie back and see what they do with it. And I was like, yeah, great chases, action scenes, but they fucked it. Where do I think they fucked it? Primarily with the fact that after 3 decades of following John Connor, the hero of the Resistance, watching all these films where we had to protect him, turns out to be the main bad guy, is the biggest fuck you to any Terminator fan. And not only does it overwrite Terminator and Terminator 2, it just fucks the timeline. It fucks the continuity of the films, and it fucks us as fans of Terminator.
It's a standalone film. For me,
it wasn't. It was an attempt at a reboot.
Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Terminator 3, and then Terminator Salvation is the 4th film in the series. I know it should technically go before Terminator 1, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy Terminator Genesis.
I guilty pleasure all the Terminator films.
Genesis stands
past the second one. 3,
stands 4, 5. As its own film.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it removes the Terminator from Terminator 1, it avoids Terminator 2 and Terminator 3, and it completely abolishes Terminator Salvation by making John Connor the bad guy. If they carry on with the franchise, hopefully they don't screw it over like Ridley Scott has done with Prometheus, but, you know, hopefully they can salvage it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Terminator Salvation, that's the one with Christian Bale, yeah. I quite like that.
It's good, isn't it? It's got some really dark moments. Michael Ironside is fucking awesome.
Again, you could consider that a prequel, but it's not because it's time travel.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I didn't mention it, because I thought you don't count it. But that one I quite like, Terminator Salvation. Some people like
it has very stupid points in it, like fucking Skynet all of a sudden is what's her face?
Helen Bonham
Carter, and it's like, what? That's Skynet now?
No,
what's going on?
Like, no. From the memories of Sam Worthington. She was the last face he saw before.
Skynet shouldn't have a voice. It shouldn't be reasoned with. You shouldn't be able to communicate or talk with it. It should be like, fuck you, humans die.
It was a cool point in time. They set up
again, I was like, it's just stupid.
The ghost of the machine, and that brings me to the more Genesis with stupid points, yes, throughout the film, but recognisable points. Same in Salvation. Emilia Clarke. She did play a really nice young Sarah Connor, and it made me want to go back and watch Terminator 1.
I thought she was okay. I thought that the guy playing Reese was terrible. That was the killer for me as well. I could not see him as Kyle Reese in any way. I couldn't see it in any way. It just did not work. The Terminator as well. Showing the more humanity in this film than he's done in any other Terminator film.
Yeah, I just realised as well. They didn't even explain the whole backstory with Sarah Connor really well.
No,
no. She tells you that the T-1000 was the boat and it killed her dad. And then Arnie blows it up.
Terminator 3, the acting is terrible in that, and Terminator Genesis, the acting is no. There aren't any really good performances out of any of them, really.
So you're saying 1, 2, and Salvation?
1, 2, and Salvation. Yeah.
Okay. So next question is from Tom Sexton.
Hey Sexton.
What is your worst cinema-going experience? Or to make it more fun for Ian, what's your worst Wikipedia experience?
Man.
For me, Sucker Punch, walked out of the cinema. 2, Sweeney Todd, fell asleep. 3, Alien Covenant, because it broke my heart.
I'd say Prometheus, because
disappointment.
I came out of the end of the cinema and I was just like, what the fuck? That didn't make any sense. I'd say Covenant, but after Prometheus.
You were already expecting the worst. You'd already Wikipedia Covenant before seeing it. So
Covenant as well. The worst Wikipedia experiences, like I said, Survey movie, Human Centipede.
Yeah, so these are Ian's worst film experiences, but he hasn't seen them yet.
Yeah, but when you have to, at the same time, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, I haven't seen that film yet, but when I wikied it, my heart fucking broke. It broke because it was so emotional.
The description was enough for you.
The description of it was just enough.
Good job, whoever wrote that description. Jeff, your worst cinema-going experience?
I think it's probably Episode 7 of Star Wars.
What?
Really?
Fucking Force Awakens?
I know there's a lot of people that don't like it because of its reboot and the fact that it just incorporated.
You hate it.
It's just a blatant remake. I understand that argument, but yeah.
I love Star Wars, right? I really love Star Wars, and what I hate is the fact that I love the sets and all the the loving effort that's gone into recreating what was so cool about the design and the art style of the 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they mashed it into a script and a story with characters that are just the shittest ever, and it just pisses me off so bad.
Fair enough.
Next question.
Nigel Penrose.
Hey Nigel.
Quick question: Dead Rising Watchtower, thumbs up or down?
Thumbs up your motherfucking ass. That film sucks.
Did you just say thumbs up then? Brilliant. Jeff, thumbs up.
Motherfucking
ass.
Down. Sucks dick.
Dead Rising Watchtower.
Sucks.
I've not seen it. So
sucks.
Oh, you have seen it. Yeah.
Sucks dick.
It's alright.
Dead Rising Watchtower, if I can't do thumbs middle, it has to be thumbs up in the end.
Thumbs up.
Shut up, Ian. Next question from George Lear.
Hey, George.
Best adaptation of a Philip K. Dick novel and or best 80s cartoon? For me, it's going to be Blade Runner.
Yeah, Blade
but
Runner.
I back it up with Total Recall and Screamers.
Blade Runner's straight ahead of all of those.
Didn't he do 2001?
I don't think so.
Was it Philip K. Dick who wrote 2001 Space Odyssey?
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so.
I was just thinking 2001 for some reason. Fucking Screamers is pretty badass. AI? Not AI. Yeah, it's AI. Steven Spielberg's AI. He wrote that too. Or is it?
I think there's inspiration from his stuff. Yeah, but I don't think iRobot either. No.
Yeah, because it adapts from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Okay, yeah. So it's always in parts.
Yeah, in parts an adaptation. Best 80s cartoon series. Oh my fucking god, where do you start? Brave Star was amazing.
Yeah.
Speed of the Hawk. No, Speed of the Cheetah. Strength of the Bear. Oh, that was more 90s.
I've read He-Man was one I never really got. I saw a couple of He-Man, but I had more He-Man books.
Yeah.
Picture books than I did have cartoons. But other than that, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 87 through to 96.
Transformers, man.
Transformers, Thundercats. But for me, the number one cartoon of all time from the 80s, The Real Ghostbusters. Just, my God, I still watch The Real Ghostbusters. I don't watch Turtles anymore or Thundercats, but I will still re-watch episodes of The Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Ghosts was pretty badass.
And unfortunately, that is going to bring us to the end. Dave Binmore did want us to discuss Jackie Chan, but that is for another entire podcast entirely. So I just want to say to everyone, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Geoff.
Yeah.
We'll be back next month with episode 8 of the podcast. But of course, film reviews on Thursdays, game reviews on Fridays. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Patreon. And occasionally on Steam. Twitch. That's the one.
All of the above.
All of the above. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.
Chill. Take it easy.